was at a car dealership in Edmonton.
Which one?
Couldn't tell you.
Used to be some truck stop in the middle of nowhere. I remember that.
I feel like more often than not, it's a weird gas station stop or truck stop.
There was one just right outside of Calgary that I really like visiting every time.
You got it.
Yeah.
Are we going?
And just recently, it's become a real shithole.
It usually does because they push for the award, and then
get it, and then hang it up on the wall, and it all goes to shit.
Yeah, then they're like, we don't have to clean this anymore because they're not going to give us another award anyway.
Actual shit.
Literal shithole.
Yeah.
Poop.
Smeared on the walls.
Doo-doo.
People fucking break the award diploma just to wipe their ass with it.
I don't know, how are my levels? A little hot.
Talk to me.
Hi, Matt.
You're sounding. That sounds pretty good,
Does
actually.
that sound all right?
Yeah,
I
that
guess
sounded
it's
pretty
just
good.
my earphones that are loud.
That's good. You want to be able to hear yourself, right? You want to be able to hear yourself. You want to be able to hear me. Am I loud in your headphones?
Not as loud as I am.
That's because you can hear yourself in your ears and your headphones.
That's how that works.
Truth. Yes, brother.
like stereo.
Well, there you go.
Well.
You're this one. I think if you want to.
I'm fine.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Hi. Hello. How's it going?
We did a topic today on our radio show about times that you've had to go to the bathroom in places that weren't a bathroom. And we had a guy call in, and it was one of the funniest stories I think I've ever heard. I was actually crying, laughing out loud, because he was working on like a job site. I don't remember what he said that he did, but they were in a field in the middle of nowhere, and he was like young at the time, like early 20s, and he had to take a shit. So he went into the woods, found a tree, leaned up against a tree, took a shit, no worries. But he's like, one thing you should know is to never lean up against a pine tree because it's got sap all over it, and I had sap all the way down my back and into my ass crack.
Oh, no.
And so he said he got home and Googled how to get sap out of your ass crack and like was like scrubbing it with soap and nothing would come out. And he's like, I found like a couple things where like you need like oil, like canola oil or like some sort of nut oil. So he's like, I grabbed a whole bunch of peanut butter and just smeared peanut butter all over my ass until it came clean.
Jeez.
Fuck, was I laughing?
Thank God for the internet. Like on opposite sides of the spectrum from what we were just talking about. What do you even fucking do if you don't have access to that knowledge? You go ask your grandpa how to get fucking maple syrup or...
Hey, Dad, I'm just asking for a friend, like some sap in a place.
Yeah.
Grandma's gotta have something,
Which probably does, but you don't want to ask it about your butt crack.
I guess.
Just tell her you got to. You don't have to tell her it's in your butt crack. Just tell her it's on your back.
Like, hey,
on your arm. I got a
some-
whole bunch of sap.
What about when
in my
she's like,
arm.
let me help you out with that?
Between any of like in the small of my elbow, between any of nature's butt cracks.
No, it has to
Would
be
be
like,
fine,
it has to be
right.
somewhere that they can't look.
Any
'Cause
skin.
then
Oh,
they'd be
yeah,
like,
you're
let's
right.
see.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've known you to be a liar.
You're not calling them or like Skyping them.
Hey, everybody. This is the God of War Spoilercast, where we're going to talk about extensive God of War spoilers. They could happen at any time. They could happen completely out of order. So if you don't want God of War spoiled for you, I recommend you leave right now.
Also, if new people pop in and are wondering what the fuck's going on, maybe give them a heads up.
Yeah, I mean, the title is God of War Spoilercast.
Yeah, people can't read, though.
So,
You know how much people love reading.
Yeah.
You ever try to sell anything online?
It's just my brand, but every day.
Specific items, but that's okay. It's all right. I like watching the buy and sell pages, and people are like, I got this truck. It's got this many kilometers on it, and it's this year, and it has this, this, and this. And the first 4 comments are like,
How many kilometers on it?
What year is it?
Does it have this, this, and
what
this?
about this? Fuck, you guys are dumb.
All right, let's do a little Spoilercast, shall we?
Are we doing the chat thing then? Should we all
Yeah,
have the chat
totally.
up to-
If you want, yes, this is a great one for chat because chat we're gonna watch you this time. Normally we don't on the podcast, but we can see that Brandon threw his phone away. With
mean.
yeah, it's a Spoilercast discussion, open discussion. There are gonna be things that we don't even think about or forget or whatever. So we'll have chat up. I'll be watching over here.
You guys can fact check us too.
Absolutely,
Can see that chat.
There we go.
Can you actually?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's got good eyes.
Well,
that's why I was surprised.
I don't. I can for some reason I can see that chat.
It's the black.
It will be a lot of like.
Huh?
Let's that say. What's the red one say, Matt? Is
Enhance.
Yeah, chat's.
that 2 Kevin Byer faces? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's
that's
two.
Kevin
That's
there,
2 in a
too.
row. Yeah. I don't know. Should we even?
Should we even do this?
Should we even do this?
All right.
I was
Thanks,
gonna say,
everybody.
shut it down.
Yeah, thanks for
Have a
coming
good
on.
night.
I was gonna say, should we bother? Like, I have this whole recap, but I think it's kind of more just for us.
What if we banged out a podcast right after this? Didn't tell anyone else.
Just
and
got it done.
Fucking got it
just
done.
fucking got it done for the week.
Yeah.
Listen, I got all night. I'm game.
You've got all four people, all
Yeah.
four mics.
That's right. It's been a while since we've done one of this. Welcome everybody to the God of War Spoilercast.
We're gonna put music before it.
Yeah. Dun, na, 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 na. You know, the God of War music will probably be in
Yeah.
there. This game came out in April, I think, right? April. It is now October. Hopefully everybody's had time to play it. We did this on purpose. 5-month gap. It's our new thing we do.
What did you say the other week about hitting that moving target? So it's not too hot?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
there
God of
you
War
go.
is cooled off.
Prime.
We're ready to talk about it in full and ad nauseum.
You know what you should do is get Shawn Michaels' entrance music and then just splice in "boy" instead over.
Sexy boy.
Yeah.
I'm not your boy.
Toy. It's great. It's all there.
Boy. Toy. I've pulled because God of War, I'm going to call it God of War 4 for the purposes of this spoiler cast. It's just called God of War.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just called
shit.
God of War. Yeah.
Did not know that.
Just like the first
Not
game.
even the.
Just God of War.
Normally it's the when they do something, reboot it. I guess it's not a
God of
reboot.
War. Yeah, it kind of is. It's
is
a
a
reboot
reboot
slash sequel. Yeah, they do some interesting stuff. If you haven't played the original trilogy, it does tie into that directly in a lot of cases and indirectly as well.
We'll probably also spoil a bunch of those.
There's a very, very good chance. I have a full synopsis of all of the God of War, the main God of War games, the PlayStation God of War games.
Those mobile or the like PSP games,
ones.
also very good.
It's true.
Yeah.
I didn't pull Ascension because that one's not great.
No, we don't talk about that one.
And I didn't. The PSP ones are great, and they totally fit into canon. And is it Ghosts of Sparta? I think is the one that kind of like outlines Kratos' whole driving force, who his wife and his daughter are. That's where you learn her name is Calliope, which then comes up in 3, which probably will come up eventually. I'm sort of surprised it didn't in God of War 4, to be honest. But
Man's moved on. He's got a new wife now.
yeah, new wife, new kid. Well, yeah, Kratos is bad at keeping wives.
Yeah.
So this game opens with the death of Kratos' second and newest wife,
Right.
who we later learn is called Faye. Whether that
Ben
is
has dead.
yeah, she's been dead for
Yeah.
well, she just died.
She just died.
She just died, and Kratos is cutting down trees for her funeral pyre. She has marked the trees she wants, says cut these ones down, and the opening menu is. The very first time you play the game, the opening menu is just the tree. And I remember when you press New Game Plus, because this is the whole no camera cuts thing, right? The camera never cuts in God of War. It just pulls right back, and you see the axe go whoosh, and you are like taking control immediately. Super, super strong. That whole opening is incredible. Everything from just like, there's a tree, and it's a new series. You're like, okay, what's going on? What is this? I know what God of War was. What is this new thing? And immediately just axe in your face. Let's go.
Do we think she died of a sickness?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
Did
it's not
they
really
not
explored,
mention?
right? I don't think it was really explored.
No, we don't know
what
how
killed her?
she dies. She knew she was going to die, and they established she kind of has the gift of prophecy. She can, I don't know if she's telling the future or what, but
I think it's like she has the sight.
yeah, she knew she was going to die. She has like kind of set up events, including the trees and everything. And then they cut down one of the trees, and we sort of learn this later, but there is it's called a protection stave, which is around their house. That's a magic circle. It stops the Aesir gods from tracking them. We learn later that Faye is the last giant. There's one giant left.
This is your first spoiler.
First spoiler. Boom. It's living up. We learn that Faye's the last giant, and so she's hidden herself in the stave.
Right. We don't know why they're hidden. Well,
At present, we don't know.
Right.
But eventually, we kind of do figure out.
They don't even know that they are hidden, do they?
Boy and Kratos do not know.
Boy and Kratos
do not know. But they do eventually kind of hint at why Odin kind of it's a war of attrition. It's a genocide against the giants because he thinks they're going to bring about Ragnarok. He fears Ragnarok because that's his prophesized death, demise, the destruction of everything, of course. So he tries to kill all the frost giants. It's just like Zeus and Olympus.
That's right.
Hearing about this prophecy of a son who's going to kill him, sparking everything off.
These gods are equal dicks as the prior gods that we dealt with.
Equal dicks, yeah.
Equal dicks.
The gods in the Greek gods, the original trilogy, kind of got corrupted somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I guess we don't have any reason to think that they were bad gods before
to start with.
before the box was open.
Yeah.
I mean, Ares was, I guess. Ares was a dick.
Yeah, that's in his nature.
Yeah, he's God of War.
God of War.
God of War.
Was the God of War.
I feel like these Norse gods are just dicks. Like,
Yeah.
They're all, like, Odin is just a hateful piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of just, like, spreads them to everybody else.
Odin feels very, like a very insecure man.
There you go.
Throughout this whole
That's the
thing where
proper
it's,
word.
yeah, where it's very like, I need to pretend I can see everything and surround myself with people who can.
Yep.
Because I need to make sure that I can foresee my own death.
As a general rule, if I were like if you are being called a god and you are a god, I feel like I'd probably act like a bit of a dick too. I'm a fucking god. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
So
I got
there's-
these cool superpowers.
We're like kind of we'll get a little bit out of order here, but there's a point where eventually Atreus learns that he's a god, and he has this that's his big like get shitty for
Yeah.
a while
Yeah.
phase.
Atreus is Warren.
Where he's like, I'm a god. This is fun. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people like we just played it recently. I know a lot of people really. They're like that heel turn is totally out of character, and then it gets wrapped up in like 2 seconds. It makes no sense. But like Warren just said, if I found out today I was a god,
exactly
I
how
would
you
just like lightning from the skies.
Yes.
Like, what can
Who
I do?
wants it?
Yes.
And like I know we're getting ahead of ourselves too, but like I felt I also didn't like that, but I think they made him that annoying on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
so that you're like, what the fuck are you doing right now?
You just wanna
like you won't even
backhand.
shoot arrows when I'm hitting fucking triangle.
Yeah.
That
right
was
now.
great.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's good.
When it like got mechanically different, where it's like I had been leaning on him and
Yeah,
putting
like,
all my points into him, and then all of a sudden he's like, no, I don't want to.
Boy, now, and he's just doing his own thing.
Yeah, it's fucking skipping rocks across a pond.
Yeah, I was yelling at him.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come on, do your job.
I need you for this fight. I didn't put any points into my axe.
So the Greek gods at some point they get infected. It's actually when Kratos opens Pandora's box. This is the original trilogy. It lets out all the evils of the world. The Zeus been there. The gods get infected, and that sort of sets up Kratos versus the gods.
Right, and Kratos opened the Pandora's box in order to give himself the power to beat the one god.
Thank you.
What the fuck?
Oh. So the belt has made an appearance.
What is happening? I don't know. Warren, breaking news.
Is the new champion.
Warren Barris
champion?
might be here on the God of War Spoilercast, the new undisputed champion. Kevin just came and passed the belt off.
Thank you.
Rule of possession in effect,
Wow.
apparently.
Is there? Wow. Okay. Wow.
Check the chat.
I'm doing a spoiler cast. I can't.
Just won the title.
It was a duel for the title. It's
mine.
Wow. Okay.
There
That
you go.
totally derailed every.
I didn't think you would bring it down right now,
Well, let's
but
wrap, let's
here we
wrap this
are.
thing up.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
New
Here
champ.
we are.
Holy new champ. Yeah. Just
The long con of making up a podcast just so Warren can challenge Kevin.
at last. I wonder.
Half of us haven't even played this video game.
What's God of War?
I wonder if, and again, we're all over the place. We'll start going through the game kind of chronologically, but I wonder if there is a similar thing in this game. Are these Acer gods just dicks? Are they just evil, kill all the frost giants because they want to, or is there a similar? Somebody opened a thing somewhere, a Norse Pandora's box, and
Or can the
Oh,
Greek
okay.
Pandora's box affect all gods?
that's a great. We don't know how the spheres interact. All we know is that they know each other exists.
Right.
The 9 realms are separate from Greece. Is separate from we saw like the Celtic God of War symbol and the Japanese.
Fuck,
maybe?
what if they make all those?
What
I don't
point
even
was
know.
that? I recall that.
Egypt, I think, was in there.
Egypt? Yes,
Yeah.
it was like Egypt, the Celtic one, Kratos' symbol, and I don't remember the other.
Oh
one.
yeah, I remember that point.
It's on
too.
one of one of Tears.
Yeah,
What are they? The
in his
trip
vault.
trip.
Yeah.
What's a 3-thing painting called?
Triangle.
Triangle. It's on one of Tears' triangles. So we know all the spheres exist. We know that because like Mimir's like, oh, I knew you were Greek. I knew you were Greek, brother, and like all this stuff. But they haven't actually jumped between any of that stuff yet. They've only acknowledged it, and that is like the most exciting shit.
Yeah, it'd be cool if there's a way to tie into these old games in a bigger way, where you're just like, oh shit.
Let's do a really fast run through of the first 3 because it's going to come up right away.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the end. All right, let's start the original God of War. Kratos, he's just a normal Spartan captain as far as he knows. Works for Ares. doing war. Says he'll serve Ares as long as Ares brings them glory and victory and promises to keep his men alive. Ares says, deal, here's the Blades of Chaos.
He's gonna fucking lose the fight. It's like his last stand before death.
You're right. Yeah,
where he's like, I'm gonna lose.
Ares!
I don't want to lose. Help me out here, Ares. I'll be your boy.
Gets the blades, goes on a crazy killing spree. Ares, without Kratos knowing it, transports his daughter and wife to wherever this battle is going on. Kratos kills them in his rage. Doesn't realize it's them. And then when he does, the Oracle of... It's in Athens, because the Oracle of Athens curses him, and the ashes all cover him. He's the Pale Warrior. He's the Ghost of Sparta after that.
Do you see him killing his...
I believe he thinks, like, the way that they present it, he is viewing them as
Like
enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
and then-
I can't remember if that was meant to be like he was just in a blind rage and killed them, or if they had actually been like illusioned to look like
some sort of a spell.
enemies. Yeah,
I think they kind of lean into like it was Ares was making them think
Yeah.
that they weren't, because they just look like enemies, and the haze clears.
And I
And
think-
it's his Calliope and Lysandra, I think is the
Girl.
wife's name. Woman.
I feel like the whole thing I think was done to like kind of cut Kratos loose of his final ties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ares thinks that if he can like get rid of the family, get rid of the things holding you back, he'll be the ultimate warrior. And then
Which he was right.
yes. Well, he sees it. He kills his wife and daughter, and then suddenly it's like, oh no, Ares betrayed me. And then the quest to get revenge on Ares starts, which the other gods are all for. Ares is fucking up towns. Athena is like, yo, Ares is destroying my city, Athens. Help us out. Kill Ares for us, and we will get rid of the nightmares. Kratos is plagued by visions of him killing his family. Do this for us. We will free you from that. Kratos does a whole bunch of shit, goes, finds Kronos, and climbs the temple on his back, gets Pandora's box, which has the power to contain a god,
Kills a kraken on a boat.
kills a kraken on a boat. I feel like this is the very first
That's
thing
the
you
very
do.
first mission, I think. Yeah.
Fights all sorts of monsters, gets Pandora's box, opens it, and at this point, none of this, all the evil of the world is trapped in Pandora's box stuff it kind of all gets retconned in 3 and a little bit in 2. But basically, when the world was made, Zeus put all the evils of the world and the leftover like forces of creation into Pandora's box and sealed it away. No one should have it. Kratos opens it, takes the power of hope, which is the power in the box, capital H, hope, and also unleashes this evil, unknowingly corrupting all the gods.
I think that hope thing comes in at the end of 3.
Yeah, totally does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think, how we know this.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
the real Greek legend is Pandora's box contains this terrible power called hope. It's the,
It's a bad thing.
It's
Hope's a bad
it's
thing.
the apple of knowledge, the sin of knowledge. We're into God of War 2 now. Or pardon me, Kratos kills Ares.
Yeah. With a
And-
really big sword.
Yep. Gets huge, gets as tall as Ares. They're both having this like giant kaiju battle in the middle of the city.
Kills what can only be expected to be thousands below.
Tens of thousands,
Yeah.
probably. And kills the God of War, and then is like, all right, I've done it, Athena, free me from these visions like you promised. And she's like, well, like, we're not causing these visions, this is you. You're fucked up. We can't help you with your PTSD.
That's mean. That's the
Yeah.
real mean trick.
Yep. And so Kratos says, like,
Manipulative.
well, I'm fucked. I'm going to kill myself. Jumps off a bridge, or jumps off a cliff. And as he's falling, Athena, like, kind of catches him and is like, no, come to Olympus. Now you're the God of War.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
And he goes,
That was like post credits, wasn't it?
right at the very, very end.
Yeah?
Yeah. And he begrudgingly, well, I think the last shot, I remember him, like, reclined on
Yeah.
the big throne.
This
Like,
That's how that
splayed
opens,
open.
right?
Squat.
Like, he's standing on the thing, and then he takes a step off, and then this whole game happens.
That's the very beginning of 2, right?
Yeah.
Is that
okay,
two?
that's yeah.
Well, no, I think at the end, he becomes the God of War at the end, because he's going to kill himself. It doesn't end with him killing himself. It ends with him becoming the new God of War.
I thought maybe 2. I could totally be wrong.
I don't
In
know.
my
I don't
head,
remember.
2 began with him killing himself and becoming the God of War.
2 actually opens with a battle. 2 opens with Kratos being the God of War, and the other gods beseeching him, being like, you're doing what Ares did. You're fucking up our cities.
Gotcha.
And Kratos is like, I'm the god, whatever. And he's going to go destroy Rhodes. So he goes down, he's fighting with his army, because he's the God of War. And a giant eagle mysteriously flies in and drains all Kratos' godly powers, animates the Colossus. He fights the big Colossus of Rhodes.
Yeah.
And Zeus shows up and says, like, Kratos, here, take the Blade of Olympus. And use this, channel all your godly power into it, and you can beat the Colossus. It's the only way. and Kratos takes it.
Fucking tricky.
And
Fuck.
Yeah, he's a sneakster.
marks out and believes him and channels everything he has into the blade, all the last bits of his power, and then Zeus. The eagle comes back and changes into Zeus and was like, "It was me, Kratos."
Snatches the sword as a sucker.
It was me all along. Yep, snatches the sword and stabs Kratos all the way through. Kratos falls to Hades, not for the first time. He's already been to Hades in the first game. I think just once in the first game.
When did he go to Hades? Do you remember in the first game?
No, but I remember it being really like fleshy in a way that it eventually turned to hands. Remember, like caves full of hands always reaching out to grab you. I remember the first one was like tongues and like flesh.
I don't remember him going in the first game.
He totally
But
does,
again,
because Hades' voice is Hades and Hades' voice are way different in the first game.
Yeah,
and then they kind of lock him in it too.
As a guy who has not played any of the other God of Wars, what did those games play like? Like, because I went back and watched the fight with Zeus upon your recommendation. And it looked like it was a side scroller almost. I don't know if it was just because that fight was on a weird stage.
That fight is on a weird.
Okay.
That fight turns into like a 2D fighting game.
Yeah.
So the rest of the game
really neat,
played very similar to this, just with
very
graphics
similar.
of the time.
Yeah. And like the
was a little
weapon switching is a little different. And
Sure.
you could you even block? I don't think you. If you could, no one did. You didn't need to block in God of War.
it was
Dodge.
very like after you get the Blades of Chaos in the new game, it was very like that, like big, long, even without the Blades of Chaos, most of the weapons were big, long, clear tons of enemies at a time, and the camera was way higher.
Yeah.
It was like high looking down on you instead of being right.
Oh yeah, and it would always like pull way out, and you would be a tiny little speck like running
but
on a
still, like,
huge
controlling.
mountain. Yeah, and you could still see your blades going. And
it's very button mashy. Like the God of War 4 is very methodical, and you got to think about what you're doing. Otherwise, if you're mashing, you're going to lose, which is why I lost often. These ones were button mashy, and like you dodge to get out of the way.
You kill way more bad guys in those first games.
Oh, yeah.
Like every arena is like 30 guys, and you're like hitting 10 of them at the same time with one move.
yeah, and like they wouldn't attack if you hit them. They wouldn't attack you, so you never needed to block because you were just always keeping everybody knocked over.
It was very fun.
It was very it was
Satisfying.
empowering in a way. So Kratos has been stabbed by the blade. He's plunging to Hades. He catches himself like he always does. And let me consult my notes here.
Thank God Hades is just a place you can fall into.
He's actually saved by Gaia. This is when he's falling and Gaia catches him.
Right.
And Gaia is the Titan who raised Zeus, Zeus's mother. And basically at this point, Gaia's like, yo, we got to take down. Zeus is a real problem. Work with us. We the Titans hate the gods. Let's fucking do this.
We are the Titans, the mighty Titans.
That's what she says.
chanted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kratos does the mighty part. And Gaia tells him that there's a way to change time. You can go find the Sisters of Fate, who I can never remember their names. Clotho, Atropos, and...
Bertha.
Bertha. I'm embarrassed I can't do the last one.
Yeah, how dare you?
I'm sorry. You go find the Fates. You can change time because they weave the skein. They know everything. And he does. Skein. Skein is totally acceptable. He goes and he finds the Loom of Fate from the sisters and goes back in time to the moment when Zeus kills him, basically surprising Zeus in a way that Zeus can't possibly predict because Kratos is literally time traveling at this point.
No.
And that's might be important. The theme of time travel and changing things and none of it making any sense
It exists.
chronologically is already well established.
It exists in every form of mythology ever.
He is going to kill Zeus with the sword. It's the last minute. He switches around. He's going to stab Zeus with the sword. Athena says, "No, don't. If you kill Zeus, you'll destroy Olympus and the world." And so Athena jumps in front of the sword. She dies. And we basically are just cut to 3 with Kratos climbing Olympus with Gaia, yelling, "Zeus!"
This is dope.
Yeah.
Things are dope from here on out.
Oh yeah. So Athena dies is kind of the important takeaway from 2. Athena dies by her own hand on the blade of Olympus. Cut to 3.
Sorry, PS2 for the first 2?
Yes.
There was not one on the original PlayStation. They were all PS2.
No, all PS2. That's correct. Cut to 3. Kratos and the Titans are climbing the mountain. They fight a bunch of gods.
Fuck yeah.
Kratos kills Poseidon. The oceans overflow and swallow all of the land. Not all of the land, but a lot of the land in Greece. And maybe I'm just imagining this, but I swear as the oceans are rising, you hear like people screaming. Like,
I wonder if fucking Kratos doesn't care.
No, but
This is not a Kratos that he's a badass in 4, but he seems to care about stuff in 4.
definitely.
He seems to have some sort of moral code, although you never see people in that game.
Even still, there are like the odd spirit in 4 where even though he's like, this is a waste of time for most of them. There's the odd
still
spirit
does
where
it.
he'll help.
Yeah.
He's old.
Yeah.
He's learned the errors of his ways.
This young Kratos, he's like, if every person on this planet's got to die for me to get to Zeus, that's fine.
Yeah, there are cases where you are using like mortals, civilians. You are taking them and killing them to use their corpse to hold a lever down for you so you can go through a door. Like, he is a fucking bad dude in these games. You kill Poseidon, the oceans rise. This is when we first established that killing gods have consequences. This one, I believe. You kill Poseidon, you kind of get blown off of Gaia. Zeus attacks her, and Kratos is falling. Says, "Gaia, help me!" And she's like, "No, Kratos, you were a pawn."
Yeah.
This is like the
You
fourth
just
time.
did it to get us by Poseidon.
Yeah, she literally says, like, "You were a pawn in our revenge." This is like the fourth time someone's gone, "It was me, Kratos."
I can't reach you. I'm too big.
And he falls into Hades again, makes it all the way there to the River Styx, where he meets Ghost Athena.
Yes.
And Ghost Athena shows up and says, like, "What's up, Kratos? I am more than a god now. I am a thing that I did not know existed. Here are the she gives him the blade. I forgot what the blades were called before, but she introduces her blades, the blades of chaos. Or the blades of Athena.
I was curious
I think
about
it's
that.
Blades of Athena.
She has new blades that she gives him, which I
Might be Blades of Athena.
I think
or
I'm
Athena's
mixing
Blades.
up the name.
I feel like Blades of Chaos were the first ones.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
But anyway, she gives him new blades and says, like, as long as Zeus is in charge, no hope for mankind. We got to do something about this. Even though, in the last game, the last time you saw her, she's like, "Don't kill Zeus, you'll destroy the world." So something is clearly up with Athena. Kratos climbs his ass out of Hades, begins climbing up the mountain, Olympus, kills the sun god Helios along the way, puts out the sun.
That's a great one.
Kills Hermes
He sticks
along
his
the way.
thumbs through his
Oh,
eyes.
God.
You have to click the
Fuck
sticks.
yeah.
Remember you guys
both
talking
sticks.
about that, yeah.
Kills Hermes, which releases a plague on all of Greece. Kills somebody else along the way. Hera destroys all the plant life.
You steal, is it Apollo? Who's the god of sun?
The one that you hold his head up?
Yeah.
That's Helios.
That's Helios.
Helios is, the
Steal
one
his
where
head.
you eyes him. Oh, yeah, you cut his head off.
And then you use the head as an item.
Yep.
Cut off
You
the
probably
fast guy's legs.
Hermes.
Hermes, yeah.
Yeah.
You fuck the shit out of.
He's a real piece of shit, though.
Out of
Tell me about the sex mini games.
Yeah, who's the Aphrodite?
How did those
Was it an
work?
Aphrodite in this one?
Yeah, you have sex with Aphrodite.
Yeah.
And then go and talk to her husband like 2 seconds later, and it's like, sup.
Yeah, fastest. Yeah. The sex mini games were just like a little quick time event of like, Kratos would walk into a room and there would be like two bare-chested ladies in there, and Kratos would go into the room and the curtains would close, and it'd be like,
It would zoom in on the
rotate
vase.
rotate the
beside the
stick or
bedstand.
whatever, and the vase would start shaking, and you would hear moans. And then you get
then
a bunch of
health would
experience.
come
Yeah,
through,
a bunch of red orbs would spray everywhere after. And there was one in every one of them. In maybe not Ascension. I don't know about Ascension or the PSP games, but God of War 1, 2, 3, they each had their own little sex QuickTime event.
Were you surprised that there wasn't any in this game?
No, the tone of these
Doesn't
games is
work.
way, way different. Yeah.
He's an old man, I guess.
Yeah. He's
He was
really
committed to
come
this
around.
most recent wife.
He still could have given it to the witch, I think. They had a little thing going on. A little something,
He
something.
hates her. He hates her because she's a god.
There's hate sex. That's a thing.
Yeah, it seems like the only kind of sex Kratos has. So Kratos is basically, this whole game is Kratos making his way from Hades to Olympus to kill Zeus. He kills Hades along the way, unleashing all the souls from the underworld. And there's a really good part where he briefly starts looking for his daughter Calliope. It's the only time you kind of hear her mentioned in the main 3 games. But Athena's there to be like, "Oh, whoa, no, we got problem focus, buddy. We got to do this thing." So as he's climbing up, he meets Daedalus, the father of Icarus. Kratos, at this point, has Icarus's wings from 2. Back in 2, Kratos found Icarus, who was flying around with his wings, literally ripped them off and threw Icarus into a pit of spikes or something, put his
kept
wings
the
on
wings,
him, and then flew away.
That's your double jump.
Yep. So the first
Like,
time...
just stuck him to his own back and they worked.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
And you meet... the first time you meet Daedalus, he's freaking out about his son, played by Malcolm McDowell, actually, which is fucking awesome. He's like, where's my boy? And Kratos is just like, I have no idea. How do we get through this?
His wings start fucking rising up on him. He's like trying to keep him down.
Cloak over his feathered wings.
These are mine. I grew these.
So Daedalus has built a maze. Daedalus has built the maze. In the center of the maze is the Flame of Olympus. In the Flame of Olympus now is Pandora's box. You with me? Kratos is going for Pandora's box because he knows in the box is the power to kill a god. He has to kill a god.
But he already let it out.
He doesn't know that at this point.
That's right.
Because he does eventually finds Pandora herself, who's trapped in the maze. The only way to get the box out is to have someone sacrifice himself to the flame. Pandora is like, I'll do it. You know what, Kratos, you're on this quest. I will sacrifice myself for you. He says, no, we will find another way. So this is like this is kind of the beginning of Kratos sort of,
turning.
The face Kratos is coming. But she does it anyways. Throws herself in there. Kratos gets the box. The box is empty.
Do you, the player, know that it's empty before you get there?
No.
As the player, assumed it was empty because I had already opened it once.
I never made that connection. I was same as Kratos because Athena the whole time is telling you, she's like, go get the box, that's what you need.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get there, like, she sacrifices herself. You open the box and it's empty, and it's like, well, that was all for nothing. She just killed herself for no reason. That fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And then you kind of learn that, yeah, Kratos has the power because he opened the box already. He's had the power the whole time, and he it's a little kind of like movie magic of, he kills Zeus. They have their fight. He kills Zeus. He's like, there, it's done. The ghost of Zeus comes out of Zeus. The spirit of Zeus comes up and sucks all his power out and takes all of Kratos' weapons and everything. And Kratos like dies, quote unquote, and sees his wife and his daughter and makes amends. And that's the movie magic of, now that he's free of his guilt, he's infinitely powerful because he can use the power of hope or whatever.
Capital H.
Capital H hope does beat Zeus. And then we are left with, like, just basically a tiny little bit of land in the center of a swirling ocean with storms overhead. It's probably raining blood at this point. There are plagues everywhere. Fire is happening.
Just
all the gods are dead.
People in beach chairs on the shore.
Yeah. Hades is overflowing. And Athena says, like, well, with the power of hope, I can remake this world, Kratos, and you're my champion. We did it. Like, everything's cool now. And Kratos, I think he says, like, my vengeance is at an end or something, and fucking impales himself on the sword. And that's it. Roll credits.
Yeah.
Come back post-credit scene, there's a trail of blood into the ocean, which leads us to 4.
There you go.
That was that was way longer than I meant it to be. But
So 3 came out when?
2009.
And was it always just, yep, we're just waiting for the next one, or was there talk of it's not going to happen and then it just happened?
Ascension happened after that, which was a prequel.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone kind of
I
shut
thought
their brain off to God of War.
Yeah, I thought it was just over.
That's it.
2014 was when they announced they were working on something. So there'd be, between God of War 3 and that, like 5 years. Ascension was in 2012 or 2013 because it was at E3 that year. So it was a couple years, and as far as we knew, like, Kratos' story was done. He was dead. It was just a trail of blood into an ocean. Like, maybe he just crawled in the ocean and died, but they had a hook if they wanted. But there was always the rumor that they were going to go to Norse mythology. Oh, that was always that was even like the joke here was like, he's going to kill the Greeks and then he's going to go do Norse and then he's coming for Jesus. And then
Still is.
Yeah. And then they announced it, and you start playing it, and it is so different in tone and gameplay and just like attention to detail in a way that they've kind of never done. And maybe it's never clear if it was the technology they couldn't do it, but like God of War 4 is oh my god, it is so much greater than the sum of its parts in a way that it should be a little. It shouldn't be as, like, there should be kind of a clash between God of War 3 and God of War 4 of, like, wait a minute, this is a big change.
I think I had that right when I started playing God of War 4, where it was, like, I was getting used to it, and I was like, oh, this feels good, but, I remember my first fight, and, like, the camera stays right behind you, and I was like,
ooh, this is close.
Fucking, like, one-on-one with this fucking guy. Aren't there supposed to be 7 of you? And aren't I supposed to, like, have a camera angle from the top of a mountain while I'm killing you guys?
And he seems like a different it seems like a completely different character for maybe like the first couple hours.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, this is the same Kratos. This is a Kratos who's had an arc that we didn't even see. It all happened off screen between the games, and you just come right back to kind of the end of his arc, which is weird.
So that's what I was going to ask, is that, again, having never played any of the other ones, they didn't ever explain in any of the other games that came out, prequel or not, that how he's alive again after having impaled himself in that trail of blood and what any of that means?
Nope.
No. He fell into the ocean.
Do we think they will?
Like specifically for him, how did he survive the sword thing? He's gone to Hades and crawled out so many times. Like, they play so fast and loose with what does death mean in God of War that no.
It would be interesting to see what road they take in terms of, like, are we going to address how basically the world ended?
The Greek world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to address how you, like, physically leave the Greek destroyed world into a Norse world? Is that just a traversal of physical space, or do you need to go through some sort of fucking gateway? Like, isn't the Greek world still the entire planet?
Yeah, I don't know if they'll go into that.
Yeah, because like I imagine Midgard is the Earth,
Yeah,
right?
Midgard is
Midgard
Earth.
is somewhere in Iceland or whatever, and there's just a big smoking crater where Greece is.
Maybe
That's how I imagine.
Maybe it's
Okay.
a 10th
And
realm.
he took a boat.
Sure, could be.
Yeah.
That's I'm more interested to see, like, will you ever get that? How'd you get here, Kratos? Did you walk?
Yeah,
Or
that-
what? Like,
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe he fell into Helheim or something because there was no Hades. And I don't think we'll ever see. I would be really interested to know though.
yeah, because the other thing they could just do is just be like, well, now it's Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
And they do a lot of that, I think.
That's sort of when they first released the trailers for this. It was Kratos kind of waking up and then teaching his boy how to hunt, and it was sort of. I was wondering if it was like a continuation or if it was a complete reboot of God of War, like the story and Kratos, whereas he came up in this fucking forest or mountain range and had a son or whatever, but there were just some things like his ashen skin and his face or his tattoos that kind of said like maybe this is kind of a continuation of
The
those
burns
things.
on the bandages on his arm.
Yeah.
Are a really good one.
Yeah, they kept it like really vague until the
Until
game.
they don't.
Yeah, until they don't.
Until they're like, no, this is the
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like they have to at least do some sort of a flashback or some sort of a story. You never see the mom in this game.
No, you don't.
You don't ever see her. You don't ever see how they met, how any of that happened. I feel like there has to be some sort of a flashback that might maybe even in a sentence explain how he got to where he is based off of how 3 ended.
I bet we will see that because I don't know Norse mythology super well. I think Faye is a pseudonym. I think Faye, like Atreus, is just they're using a different name. I think it'll be a big reveal of like, oh no, she this is her. She's whoever.
Do you think Faye is more than just a everyday giant?
Yeah, I think she'll be.
I don't even know what the big giants are.
Neither. That's
Frost giants.
Well, that's right. Not all
yeah,
giants are giant. Remember?
No, that's what. I didn't mean big. I meant like I don't even know what the important giants are.
Oh, in
Norse mythology.
Yeah, neither do I. Is the thing. So I think she'll probably be some iconic individual. Who knows?
What's the guy from Thor called?
Which guy?
Laufey. That's a man.
Okay.
Could be his daughter.
Could be. Who knows?
Who?
Well, no, because the Thor
Timey.
mythology is not real.
Timey-wimey.
Yeah.
So I sort of have no idea where we are. Let's get back to God of War 4 for a sec.
Yeah.
The wife has died. She says, cut down these trees. They cut them down. It breaks the stave. The Aesir gods know where they are. There's a whole backstory, too, that I didn't pull too much information on, but there's a whole lore and mythos they set out about the Aesir gods versus the Vanir gods versus the giants, kind of teamed up with the elves and the dwarves and the fire giants, and there's a whole huge wide story of their own kind of flavor, not just the mythology.
Right.
They have a thing going on, like Mir tricked Odin by giving him a bunch of mushrooms and told him it was the Well of Eternity, and Odin believed them and all this.
And then Odin saw some shit, and he's Tyr's like, "You see fucking what I can do? Look at what
Yeah.
I can do."
It was just LSD or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of super, super good, like, in-depth shit that I bet will totally come back to bite us and Kratos in the ass that we haven't even thought about.
It was really tough to pin down, and I think like intentionally so, good guys and bad guys, as I'm always want to do in these video games when it's explaining the story, where it's like, oh, okay, so the giants are good. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, they're better than the Aesir gods, but they're also, some of them aren't very good people either.
There's no such thing as a good god.
No, tier.
Yes. And there's some great tier theories that we'll get into a little bit later.
Theories.
That's what we call them. So the Fae wants her ashes scattered on the highest peak in the realm. In the realms, pardon me, not the realm.
The realm, yeah.
The
the S ends up being a big deal.
And it's at this point that Baldur shows up. The stranger he is at this point. And you... he shows up and is like very vague. He talks like he's kind of drunk. I love Mimir describes him as talks like he's drunk but probably just a little slow. And he shows up and says like I've been looking for you, and is like very vague about what he wants, and basically just seems like he was looking for Kratos, and Kratos is like, get the fuck out of here. This is my house.
I got a real Conor McGregor vibe from that guy.
From Baldur.
Yeah.
Did you didn't watch Lost, did you?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Is he a dude?
He's the hippy dippy guy in Lost.
Hippy dippy guy.
Yeah, what's his name?
I
Desmond.
think you mentioned Desmond.
Oh, see another life, brother.
Yeah.
One in the pushes the button.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we've been through this. Yeah,
Yes.
I remember that. So Baldur shows up, and you just beat the fucking tar out of him. That first fight is amazing.
Oh,
That
yeah.
first fight is like my favorite part of it is the two punches meet. Kratos and Baldur are like, the punch meet and they hold it, and they are pushing on each other so hard that the earth beneath them chasms and opens this like Grand Canyon.
Some fucking Dragon Ball Z shit.
Yeah.
It is wild. And that's the first time you get the like wow, how strong are you comments towards Kratos.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is he does, but it's like lifts a fucking mountain or something.
That's what I was talking
Was
to
it
Warren.
when he charged him through the rock, maybe?
He fucking hits him with the tree and just
They
drives him
keep
through
going
everything.
through like a boulder and like another
mountains.
boulder.
The world is just zooming towards you, and you're
Yeah.
just.
It's so good.
I was talking to Warren about that, because Warren's like, so he's like super strong, and I was like, he always seems to be just strong enough for what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Whether that's chop down a tree or move a mountain, it seems to be like, oh, he's putting a lot of effort in,
Kratos
but he'll
is
get it
always
done.
strong enough. He lifts Kronos in 3.
I know, that's fucked.
Kronos is huge.
Kronos
so
is literally a mountain.
For context, there's a part where you're fighting Kronos and you are smaller than a crack in his thumbnail because you grab onto it and rip his thumbnail off with it. Like you are a tiny little speck, and he is huge. And I love that they acknowledge how strong Kratos is in this one, where even the boy is like, don't use your back. Are you gonna be okay? Like, how strong are you?
Even
He asks him at one point.
It's, something when you do one of those strength things. I think it's when you first get Mimir.
Yeah, Mimir.
Mimir.
Yeah.
When you lift something, and he makes a comment about you lifting it, and the kid's like, "Yeah, my dad's always been really strong." I'm like, fuck, you're dumb. Of course, he's a fucking.
That was the one you texted me about.
I'm like,
Out of the
how does this
two-
kid not know that
Is
he's
this
a
kid
god?
dumb?
Out
He's
of the two
literally picking
humans
up.
you've ever met, the Kratos is
Jesus.
definitely the stronger.
He's this old fucking man, and he's picking all this shit up, and you don't know. You don't know any better. You don't got any questions.
He's probably like fucking putting his fingers under mountains and being like, I gotta wait a few more years before I can toss this mountain.
Ham this one up a little bit. So you beat the shit out of Baldur. You think you kill him at the time. You're sort of led to believe he's dead. And then you guys
Snap his neck.
Yeah, and throw him off a cliff.
Yeah.
Ah.
That's generally a pretty sure sign.
You think he's dead.
Although you do also find out in that fight that he can't feel pain.
That's right. As you're going through it,
He can heal himself,
Yep.
and you also heal yourself after.
Yeah, that's kind of, again, like Kratos is only as strong as he needs to be. He can kind of only heal his wounds sort of those couple times.
They put it up that first time anyway as it's when you use your Spartan Rage, right?
I think it's like right before, because I remember your health bar like refilling. Because he like, I just remember like flexing and like the cut on his head closes.
He did some sort of a.
Yeah.
It was after you threw him off, and he kind of stood
Powering
up,
up.
and like you were struggling to walk, and like kind of using your thing as a cane, and then he like kind of stopped and did like a Hulk up thing, and then now he's walking fine. I'm all good.
Which, again, Kratos can only kind of do, like, a few... Sometimes he just dies. Sometimes he dies and goes to Hades and doesn't heal himself.
Yeah.
And so they play a little fast and loose with some of that stuff.
I like that you can like die and go to Hades and also physically fall into Hades.
Yeah, that's how you stop yourself.
Yeah.
If you get in the river Styx, you're probably fucked. You got to stop yourself from getting in there.
Can you imagine actually being Hades and like 4 times watching him come down and grab on and be like,
Missed him
fuck!
by that much.
Yeah.
Again!
They're taking odds on him.
Yeah.
Like, surely this time.
This is the one.
He's not even looking. He's like, Kratos never falls. You idiots. Don't watch.
No
No
bet.
bet.
No bet.
Just to backtrack a little bit too, at the start of the game when you're still doing the hunting stuff, I know you and I had similar struggles with those first tree guys.
Hardest fight of the game.
That I because
Holy
the
fuck.
game doesn't show you how to block or dodge, and I'm 98% sure that you can't dodge or block until it shows you how.
Yeah.
So like I had it on the not hardest, but the above normal, whatever that one, challenge. Give me a challenge, I think it's called.
Yeah, 3 out of 4, whatever it is.
And it must have taken me at least a half an
It was
hour
a
to
long
finally
time.
figure that out
Yeah.
before I got it. And then once I got it, I was fine. But it was just a weird thing
I remember
to have
because
to
you
try
didn't,
and learn that.
you didn't tell me the difficulty thing until like late in that attempt. And I was watching this being like, the fuck, Warren? What are you doing? You're better at video games than I am. These guys are nothing.
This
And then
is-
you're like, oh, I bumped up the difficulty. I was like, oh.
Those base-ass Draugr are the hardest enemies in the game. Having played it through on New Game Plus and giving God of War, they are so fucking... They are like head and shoulders above everything else.
Whatever a Draugr has below his head.
Head and shields, head and swords, head and something.
I'm glad that didn't turn you off of it.
No, yeah, it was just a kind of frustrating thing where I was like, well, I don't want to bump the difficulty down already, but maybe I should just to get through this thing.
It's a hard game, especially coming from
it
those
is.
old ones.
I did end up eventually bumping it down because I got to a certain point where I was like, I kind of want to get through this game as quickly as I can, and B, I want to play it as a god where I get to a point where I can just fuck shit up and not have really a challenge with these little guys.
Yeah.
So I did bump it down and I had fun with it.
And yet they continue to be.
Yep.
Yeah, they were pricks all the way through
Yeah.
on any difficulty.
So we're off on the quest to deliver the ashes, I believe. Baldur's been dispensed. We're off on the quest to deliver the ashes. I didn't pull exactly how, but Boy and Kratos know they have to... They rode into the middle of a lake, and something tells them to throw their axe in the water. I can't remember
There
what
was
it is.
an inscription or something on that little lake, or that little island in the middle of the lake that said something that the boy read.
Boy,
Yeah.
read it.
Kratos can't read,
Yes.
which I fucking love.
Yeah.
And just
You
begrudgingly
probably-
needs Boy to, like, every single thing they come across. Boy,
No.
read.
So it translates to something.
And he
Throw your weapon or something like that.
also, it's the wife's axe. They get into that pretty early. It was Faye's axe. Now Kratos has it, and yeah, he just chucks it into the lake.
There's a cool moment when he threw it and it goes in the lake, and then he goes to call it back, and it just doesn't come back.
And Boy's like, it didn't come back.
And even you can see Kratos kind of like double take on his hand, like
This is embarrassing.
What?
Just try it again.
This never happens, I swear.
So you throw it in the lake. Jormungandr catches it in his mouth, comes up and talks to you.
Fuck, that thing was cool.
And I think Boy can understand it. Immediately, I think
Yep.
Boy can already
Yeah.
understand Jormungandr.
He did the same thing with the big turtle at the
Yeah.
witch's place.
Oh,
where
that
he
thing was
spoke to
cool
that
too.
immediately.
Oh, yeah. I thought in that case, because he hears voices. So
Yes.
at that point, when he's hearing, like, he understood Yorm, he understood the turtle, I thought, okay, he must be like the god of animals or something, which...
Kind of.
Yeah, it turns out Loki is.
If
Yeah.
you had a better knowledge of the actual Loki in mythological sense, you might have put that together.
Yeah, because he and I think he does something with the deer and the warthog or something too.
He's
He
just
can
really
hear
good
animals.
at tracking the deer and
It's
not very good at killing them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a great little scene too, where they're.
He shot the pig, finally. The pig had magic on it, and he shot it.
Are you hunting deer or chasing deer? That whole opening scene is just tremendous. But you find Yorm comes and talks to you. Boy understands him, which you're like, okay, this is weird, especially because it's not too long after that you learn no one knows how to speak to Jormungandr. It's the forgotten language. Only Mimir knows, which we don't find out until luckily we have him. So that immediately is like, okay, weird, something's up.
It is the world snake, right?
The world serpent, yes. Yeah, and the water lowers. He's so big that the lake lowers.
Thing
can
scared
go
the
around the
shit
world.
out of me.
Yeah, he's
That voice is so deep and
things awesome.
it's just
and he
bass.
gets right up into the camera too, and it's
the controller vibrates while he's doing it.
It's like coming from within
and like
you.
you don't know, like I didn't know. I'm like, wait, am I about to fight this thing? Because I know you fight some big shit in God of War, but I've never played any of them. So I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to fight this thing and like crawl over it, and then it's just like in your face, and then you're friendly. Oh, thank God.
He says he'll help us. Like, are you sure? If this was the original God of War trilogy, that camera would have pulled all the way back to space, and you would have started just fucking winging them. And
by the tail, just fucking swinging them around.
So it's kind of in here. I haven't pulled specifics, but it's in here that they meet Freya. They don't know she's Freya at that point. They meet the Witch of the Woods, I guess. They shoot her boyfriend and have to go heal him and stuff. And it's during that conversation that Freya knows that they are both gods, and Freya also knows that Atreus doesn't know he's a god, and she basically tells Kratos, like, you got to tell him. You really got to tell him.
Which was also the first time that we find out that the kid officially does not know that.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Which is a cool thing to know, because I was kind of wondering that at that point of like, does he know? What is this all about? And that conversation was kind of your first glimpse of like, okay, so you're hiding that from your kid.
Yeah.
But somehow she knows.
And there's something in there too where Kratos really drills in there are no good gods. Kratos drills in that he has been teaching Atreus like there's no such thing as a good god. Even when they're talking about like Tyr, sometimes they're like, "Well, Tyr was a good god," and Kratos is like, So you learn that she's a god. You don't know who she is, just the Witch of the Wilds, and you also learn that boy doesn't know. But for whatever reason, like at the point, you kind of assume that she just wants to be a good person. Like, you'll just tell him who he is because that's the good thing to do.
Yeah.
You kind of don't realize till later that like it fucks him up because he doesn't know. He has been raised to hate gods, but he himself is a god. So this inner turmoil kind of tears him apart.
I think there was also a kind of tense moment where you weren't sure if she was going to tell the kid too, where he kind of was like getting ready to fuck her up, and she was going to say something, and she's like, "I'm not going to say anything, but you probably should, and here's why."
I remember that part. Yeah, there was like
tense
moment.
I was sort of thinking that Kratos might just fucking snap her neck right then and there, because again, old Kratos wouldn't have thought twice about killing a god.
No one can know.
And at some point in here, also, you meet the two best characters in the game, Brock and Sindri, who are so fucking fantastic, each for their own reason.
You meet Brock first.
Yep.
Who was great.
He's blue.
I forget what he said. Oh, he said something like he did something that I say mainly when I'm drunk a lot, where I just randomly will throw in like, "Oh, how you doing, son of a bitch?"
Yeah.
Like I'll throw in "son of a bitch," like, and he did that, and I'm like, this guy right here is my fucking favorite part of the game, and I don't even know anything yet.
I can't remember what it was exactly. You texted me, and it was like, "Oh, thanks for whatever. Now fuck right off."
It was a pleasure doing business with you. Now fuck right off.
Yeah.
He's so good.
He's very good.
Just a crusty asshole.
Sindri also super fucking good in his own way.
Oh, yeah.
I like the yin yang of the brothers,
they're so
of him
good.
being a kind of an asshole, and the other guy just being this like neurotic, like grossed out
Germaphobe,
germaphobe from everything.
Tiny beast. He knows about the tiny invisible beasties.
Yep.
And like even his fake wretches were like
That one scene was outstanding.
initially I was like, okay, like is he gonna do this the whole game? And then they just keep at it and they keep at it and they keep at it. By the end of it, I was fucking
In
laughing
stitches.
my ass off.
The big one was when you're asking him about the eye, Zamir's eye.
Yeah.
It's like, he asked me to make a. I had to make a, and he just like eventually turns around and just pukes, and then comes back. He's like, all right,
Okay, I'm good.
So I had to make a.
That was good.
My favorite one of him is right after Atreus learns he's a god, and they're like rolling up to him. They're like, "Hey, can we tell him?" And Sindri, a sprocket rolls by just for whatever fucking reason,
Yeah.
and Sindri's like, "Tell me what?" And he points at the wheel and says, "Did you lick that wheel? Because if you did, I will throw up." And then just immediately starts like, oh man.
You wouldn't
great.
when you first give him the axe to upgrade too. I love how he like kind of put it between the palms of his hands and
doesn't
like,
want to touch it.
dragged it and like was like, oh god, it is so good.
When he's gonna work on the axe, he calls for quiet. He's like, "I need quiet for this." Think and touches it
also
exactly
great.
once with the hammer. And
Every
he's like,
time
done.
you upgrade it, they just like Boom. All right, here you go.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Why don't you just hit that thing 10 times and then I'll just leave and we're fully upgraded?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. And they serve as your fast travel system in this game, which has a fantastic. It is tied into the story in a really cool way of like the dwarves can move between the realms. How the fuck do they keep getting here before us? And they go into all that.
Those are always really cool reveals too, where you would like be climbing up something and you'd come around a corner and it'd just be like, boom, right there, and you're like.
The fuck?
You were just how the fuck did you do that?
And part of you is like, it's a video game, yeah.
But then Kratos is like, how are you here before us?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
and then he's like, we got our ways, we have our secrets or something like that.
Doesn't work on dragons.
Yeah,
They can step between the realms, but it doesn't work on dragons.
That whole fast travel system too it was a really neat way to hide the loads.
Oh yeah, and there's the mechanic, the don't step off the edge mechanic they build in.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fucking awesome. Did you ever step off the edge?
no.
Oh, you just die if you do.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I kind of figured that. Even when like the first time you go in there, and boy goes off the path, which ends up being something towards the end of the game. I didn't even go out there to bring him back because I was like, I don't want to die. I just want to let's load and get moving on. So I'm like, get over here. I'm not coming to you. So it's a
good.
big white door that we got to walk through.
Yeah.
You so you were on the they say you're on the branches of the world tree. You are in the realm between realms, and you can step off. Don't ever do it, but you can if you want. And if you die. And so we're sent to Elfheim. Currently Kratos and Boy think they need to get to the top of the highest mountain in Midgard, which is where Mimir is imprisoned.
Right.
And there's a black smoke on the walkway.
Right.
And so they got to get the light of Elfheim. From Elfheim, they go there. Frey goes with them. Frey goes through the Bifrost and everything. Freya opens it for them because they don't have a Bifrost at this point.
Right.
Goes through the tree, and then as she's in Elfheim, she starts getting sucked back. She's just getting pulled back, and she's like, no, I thought I'd have more time, no! And gets ripped back. And you sort of learn that Odin has all these magics in place to trap her in Midgard.
Right.
Odin really hates Freya and wants her stuck in Midgard.
That's ex-wife's.
Yeah. Ex-wife.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as hiding places, though, under a big-ass turtle is a pretty good place to hide.
Oh, yeah.
Because first of all, you got to find her, and then you got to get past the turtle.
I think she has her own stave, her own protection stave, I think she says at one point.
Yeah, I think she does, too.
Something to keep her hidden from the Aesir.
And she also, when you first leave, doesn't she give you something?
She gives you a mark to hide you from the
Yes,
Aesir. Yeah,
yes.
so I would assume she has that on herself.
Yeah.
Which gets rubbed off. I don't remember when it does get rubbed off, but it does.
Like to rub you
Yeah,
off.
it gets masturbated right off off of the people's necks.
Yeah.
So they go to Elfheim. There's a lot of shit in Elfheim that I wonder if we'll ever hear any more about between Dark Elves and Light Elves. And if you go back later with Mimir attached to you, he gives you context of like, no, there's only one. They're just elves. There's no Light Elves, Dark Elves. They are just elves, and they have created these two factions.
Right.
There aren't like two
sides of
separate
a war,
realms.
yeah,
exactly. And they fought over the light for centuries. Like when we get there, the Dark Elves are covering everything in this like very biological, these gross tentacles. And he says the light has changed hands no less than, I think it's 231 times. It's 200 and some times. So this is a thing that has been
Just like Stanley Cup.
exactly. It's been flip flopping. Now next year, Light Elves are going to come back real strong, and hopefully they got a chance at the light again.
That's right.
So you go and you get some of the light. I think you sort of charge your thing up in the light and kind of undo whatever the Dark Elves were doing. You fight a big
Get rid
name
of the
Dark
tentacles,
Elves.
yeah.
You free the temple basically, and then they never really touch on that again. So I wonder if are the Dark Elves still out there? Are they pissed? Are they coming back? Are we going to see something from them? Because at this point, if you're paying attention, you think they come from the realm I can never pronounce, Svartalfheim, whatever the one that starts with the SV is. But really, they don't. We learn later they don't. They all come from Elfheim, which I think is super fascinating. Who lives in Svartalfheim?
Where do the dwarfs live?
Maybe in Svartalfheim.
Yeah.
And there's another thing, too, about the dwarves. I forget. The dwarves are the same as... Maybe dwarves and giants are the same? Dwarves are the same as someone else. And again, they bring up, like... No, they're really the same. They just created factions.
The amount of time it took me to wrap my head around the fact that giants aren't physically big
Giants,
necessarily
yeah.
was...
Yeah, I'm glad they pointed that out relatively early when speaking about giants. That even like the kid asked something and Kratos explained They're not always big, or somebody explained it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Boy explains it to Kratos.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Kratos is Boy's like, right. Not all giants are giants. And Kratos is like, well, the world serpent's big. And he's like, well, that giant is giant.
Some giants
Some
are
giants
giants.
a giant at the same time. I think he even says, like, Dad, they're a race, or something like sarcastically like that.
Like you would to
It's
your
not
parents.
an actual big giant, you dumbass.
We don't say that anymore, Dad.
Racist!
Because then everyone would be like, well, you get so much of like, well, you didn't know they were a giant. And I was just like, well, they're pretty fucking stupid then.
Well, yeah, how do you... So as they get the light, they go up to the mountain. That's where they run back into Balder and his two nephews, Modi and Magni, who I always thought were dwarves. I could have sworn in Norse mythology that Modi and Magni were the dwarves that made Mjolnir, but apparently not. Anyways, you meet Modi and Magni, and
Made Mjolnir in this game.
Brock and Sindri did it.
That's right.
Yeah. They made Mjolnir. They made.
That's how you when you first meet Brock. He's on that bridge with the big fucking animal who the kid also talks to.
With the cargo. Yeah.
And he's like,
and then he eats it later.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know, you may not believe me, but I made that axe. And Kratos is like, I don't. Something like that. And he eventually
shows him the brand or whatever.
Yeah, half the brand.
Well, Sindri threatens them because he's like, oh, you guys didn't hurt. I made this for a special lady, and if anything happened to her,
He picked up like a pot or something too, where he's like,
hit Kratos.
I'm gonna have to do something with it. He's like, no, I didn't. He's like, oh, thank God.
So you meet Modi, Magni, Balder. They're talking to the smartest man alive, Mimir, who is locked in a tree. Odin put him there. Was it because he tricked him about the well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That was why. Yeah,
Did they explain that in here? Because I might have missed it. I remember I was kind of doing something else at the time, and I wondered why he was in that tree.
Mimir for sure does. If not right then later in the story. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a combination of that. He just didn't like that Mimir was smarter than him.
Mm-hmm. The general paranoia.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. As the paranoia kicked in.
But yeah,
this guy's a problem.
Locked Mimir in a tree. Apparently tortures him every day. Sees to it personally. And so we get up there and we talk to Mimir. Well, at first we get up there thinking like, okay, the quest is done. Great.
Did it.
Here we are, highest peak in all the realms.
Nailed it.
And Mimir chirps in from behind. Is like, actually, it's not the highest peak.
Well, when you first get up there, you're climbing up the side of the mountain, and he is speaking to Conor McGregor and his
nephews. Yeah.
nephews.
Yeah, you're sneaking past the McGregors.
Which was a cool moment, too, because you hear the voice, and you're like, wait a minute. Because I figured that he wasn't actually dead, but I wasn't sure, well, maybe a neck break is the thing that does it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's his one weakness.
And then you get up to that one ledge where you
neck.
kind of peek over it, and you're like, okay, that is that guy.
Yeah.
Which was it was a cool moment, and then you get up there and talk. He looks really cool in that tree too.
Oh, wait, he looks fucking scary,
like, terrifying.
I'm like, oh, he's a bad. Where there's a boss fight
Because his
here
eyes
we go.
fucked up too, and he's got the gold eye that's the good eye, and
He's like one of his arms is like half tree, and the other one's still just an arm. And
really cool.
Did he have the sight?
he has one eye. One eye has the sight.
Is that the one they ripped off?
Nope, because that one we go and find later.
Yeah.
Right.
That
That's
one,
what it was.
turns out, is hidden in the statue of Thor for whatever fucking reason.
That's
the
where
one
they
that
put an eye.
Jormungandr eats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, that was weird.
you meet Mimir, and he's like, "Nope, this isn't the one. Sorry, boys. You need to go to Jotunheim." Oh, Jotunheim, brother, or whatever he says.
Why didn't you tell me that it was fucking the highest peak you were looking for?
Well, yeah, and then he's like, "Well, no one can get there. The giants, they hid the way to Jotunheim. They hid the rune. The tower is missing.
They fucking just took the tower.
Yeah, the tower has mysteriously disappeared. Lucky for you, smartest man alive, Mimir can get you there. But
For
I'm stuck
only a pretty penny.
I'm stuck in this tree. What can I do?" So Mimir says, "Well, cut off my head, take it to the witch in the woods, get her to revive me."
Oh, there's a great fucking line here, and I can't remember it. And I've been thinking about it this whole time leading up to it.
Something about doesn't he say right before you do it? Doesn't he say something about if I end up dying or if he can't revive me?
He
tells you to do something.
He tells Kratos to tell the boy about his godhood, basically. He's like, in case I don't make it back, brother, like the boy has to know what he is, or something.
There was
like
a
that.
funny line in there too.
It was some deadpan thing that Kratos said. Like,
Mimir says, like, yo, if I don't make it back, tell your kid. And Kratos deadpan is like, I'm going to cut off your head.
oh,
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah.
Right, you are. Just,
And then just like a clean
one.
and he just has it. He just attaches it to his belt.
Complete no sell.
Off we go.
Cut off your head.
That's probably the moment that you realize if you're Kratos' son. My dad's been through some shit if he's willing to just tie this head onto his belt.
Oh, yeah.
Nonchalantly.
And the kid didn't even flinch either.
No.
That's the other thing. It was like, aren't you a little freaked out about...
The head asked. They basically begged him. He's
Sure.
like, please don't.
And-
at least kill. He even says, like, if I don't get revived, if I stay dead, whatever, this isn't living.
And it is a world where they just talk to a big giant-ass snake and they've met a witch that can do shit.
It's
so
true.
I guess that
Death is
cutting a head off isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah. So they...
I just want to say Mimir is like an outstanding third piece to
so
in this
good.
game. Like he is just, and like the little things that they did to them too, like how like he was kind of on your back, and I always wondered like when I die, as you do in this game sometimes, that you just like kind of land on him, and he always had the last line whenever like the boy would be like, "Don't leave me," and he'd be like, "That's it." Like just the funniest one-liners when you die were great. I also really liked that anytime you got in the boat, he got to sit beside the kid. Like, he leaves you on your back when he dies at all other times, but when you get in the boat, he gets to plop down and be the storyteller on the bench, which is a great visual of just this head, disembodied head, just sitting there hanging out.
And he becomes like you're like directly behind you. Call
Behind
out
you, brother.
Yeah, which is also really cool.
Yeah.
There's great stuff too where like he doesn't know the rules about stories in boats when he first shows up, so he keeps telling a story even though you get out of the boat, and Chris like, stories off of boats.
So good.
And the best is like the first time after that happens too. I remember, and I don't know if it was just by luck that line generated at that time, but he was like right in the middle of a story in like a pretty important part, and like I got off the boat. He's like in mid sentence, he's like, and I'll finish this the next time. And just like stopped, and it was silent for the next 5 minutes, which was hilarious.
I don't know if anyone else hit it, but it's some of those realm tears that you'll go into when you show up to some of them. Boy and whoever or Kratos, as he's doing, will be like ready, and Boy will always be like ready, and sometimes he'll do them and he'll be like ready, and Mimir will like ready, and he's like I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah,
he's like oh, just kidding, brother. Like the water going up. He's like
Oh,
I don't know if I can.
Yeah,
Turns out I can.
turns out I can. Yeah.
So you bring the head to Freya. She revives it. Well, she knows Mimir. She
wouldn't do it.
Yeah, she doesn't like Mimir. We don't know why at the present time. She's not going to do it, and then I sort of forget why he talks her into doing it.
The kid. I think the kid just kind of said, please.
Because we want to bury our mom's ashes or whatever.
Yeah. She was sympathetic for whatever reason.
She brings him back, and then they're off on their quest again. Where are they? They need to get to Jotunheim.
Right.
The problem is no one knows how. So they are... I can't... they're going for the Black Rune, but I don't remember how they learn of it.
It was something with the snake. Didn't the snake have to do something to move around to reveal more of the center?
Yeah, I think
well, the snake
water
keeps
drop.
pulling up, and the water keeps going down. I should have done a better job of maybe writing down the minutia, but it's at some point when you're on your adventures here. This is right before Atreus learns he's a god. Modi and Magni show up. Kratos and Atreus together fight Modi and Magni together, and they do that weird, like form a super. They do that weird. It's like a fusion dance almost, where they both yell like the Norse equivalent of fusion ha and turn into this thing, and you kill Magni.
This was a neat fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
It worked. It worked really well for me. Well, okay, the fight was cool. I really liked that when they did their fusion dance thing. That way of like it's all dark.
Yeah,
and you get that prompt, and you have to like get over there to shield, and then throw him up over the top.
And then the kid fucking fires at him when he's in the air. Yeah.
But it also worked out really well for me in that I knocked the guy who you end up killing. I knocked him down to a point first where he wouldn't come back up. So it was kind of like I just lucked into knocking down the guy that I ended up killing first.
Yeah.
which is cool.
Video games are always, when you do those two people fights, you don't know if the video game is doing you can kill one, then the other, and that's the best way to do it, or if it's doing the other guy's going to get super strong after you kill the guy, so take them both down as low as you can before you kill one.
On New Game Plus, I don't know if this is the same on all the difficulties. Because they have two, Modi and Magni each have a health bar. Mm-hmm. When you take the health bar down, they go into I think they call down lightning or something. They make a shield around themselves and then they slowly start healing. And I don't know if this is the same on the other difficulties, but you got to get them both down at the same time, which took a long time to realize of like, okay, I need to get Modi down to 10% and Magni down to 10%, and then you got to like bam bam get them both into that state at the same time, and that's when they, at least on New Game Plus, Give Me God of War, that's when they do their fusion dance.
Yeah, it wasn't like that on the normal difficulty anyway. No. He would just drop and be on like one knee,
on a knee,
and not doing anything until you got the other guy down. I think I didn't get the other guy down fast enough, and he may have regenerated a little bit of health, but it wasn't a significant amount in that he stood back up at some point, but it didn't take me long to get him back down to a knee and then the other guy as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like there was some healing going on somewhere in my game where I was like, oh yeah, I got to get these guys down together a little bit.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was a cool fight.
It was a cool fight.
Very cool.
And
was that the Smells Like Rain?
No, that's
okay.
later. Yeah, because this is the one where at the end of this fight, basically Magni is down on his knees, and hang on, I'm beginning to is this one that Trace kills?
No,
but they're really talking shit to Atreus.
They're both.
Oh yeah, they're calling out his mom, and
so it started, but this is not the one that Atreus killed.
Just fucking backing off, like throwing chirps.
Okay.
Yep, 100%. Because Atreus was shitty when he killed the second one. He's not shitty yet. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know he's a god at this point.
Yeah, okay. I think you're right. So they kill Magni. They kick him down a hole. You're led to believe they kill Magni. Again, nobody knows what death means.
Yes.
I would not be surprised if any of these guys show up again. I think Magni specifically, they mention like, oh, he didn't come back. What's going on? And they talk like, oh, Helheim's fucked or whatever.
The brother who is alive after this fight,
it's Modi,
seems pretty pissed off that the other one's gone, though. Which makes me think that, that's it.
The next time you see Modi, he is beat to shit, just completely beat up, and he's like, my dad Thor, because Magni, the one who died, is the favorite son.
Yes.
Magni is supposed to inherit Mjolnir after Thor, but Magni died, so Thor just beats the shit out of Modi, and Modi shows up and is basically like, I'm never going to get the hammer, like, you guys screwed me, I hate you! and then fucks off a little bit. This is a little interesting because this is one of the first and only times a god dies where we don't know if there's a direct outcome, if it affects the world at all, if it doesn't.
Well, is he's got a rain or lightning?
It's not really clear. They storms, kind of like Thor. They show up in lightning.
It seems to be a little more ambiguous than in the original trilogy, and that might be a pantheon thing, more so than a video game thing. But it seems like everyone had their shtick.
Oh yeah, very much like, no, I'm the fire guy, I'm the water guy.
And this one is just like, you're Summer? You're fucking Summer?
The god of the smell of rain?
That was a little bit more off-putting because it's coming from like the Greek gods.
Where it's so different.
Yeah,
very cut and dried.
You're the god of like light or whatever. And then even here, it's vague and weird.
Yeah.
And kind of, it crosses jurisdictions.
It's like
even looking at the family, it's like, okay, so you're thunder, I think you're lightning, and you're rain.
That might make sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And then at the same time, I was like,
that would make Modi
that's
rain.
Fucking almost the same. You can all be
Magni
the same thing.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So they kill Magni, and this is right when Boy gets sick. They kind of allude to Boy's sickness before, and it seems to be very anger-induced, where I forget what he's fighting something or stabbing something. The first time he kills someone, he kills a man. So you see mortals in the beginning of this game. If you remember, raiders show up. Just men. Just plain-ass men. And
literally the only ones you see the entire game.
Yeah.
And then they kind of rise from the dead as Hellwalkers or whatever after. But I think it's when he kills his first man. He is like stabbing him. I remember him stabbing something over and over and over and over and over and over.
That was the first troll you fight.
And then Kratos has to like calm him down, and he's coughing a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, the sickness or whatever." Yeah. And Boy says,
"You are not ready."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Boy's like, "I've been sick forever. I'm ready." And it's at this point the boy falls really sick. He gets super sick super fast. And there's a good, like, you kind of see him getting sick, and like he's mopey and like one word answers. You're like, something's not cool. What's
visually too? Like they made him look gross and like kind of greenish too. I think
it's a really nice touch. You can tell it's like a kid getting sick. You're like, oh boy, kid's getting sick.
And the cool thing too. Sorry, the cool thing too is that even in the time between when he starts getting sick and when he eventually passes out and is like unconscious sick, in the free world moving around, he is coughing now too, which I thought was a really cool touch.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was a neat thing where it seemed like they wrote so much like just ambient roaming around dialogue for each section of the story, but then
and like all the states of boy and Mimir and not having Mimir and is boy sick, is boy a douchebag,
But then I believe at the end of the game when I was wandering around, it was like using the lines from the place I was in when that was happening in the story.
Oh, weird. So you had like sick boy, even though
he wasn't sick anymore.
Yeah, a while ago.
I feel like that happened because I feel like I said that on a podcast.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember thinking like that's just such a weird thing for them not to like. For them to have all their attention to detail, for them not to be like, okay, and then this is the endgame dialogue that you can use anywhere.
Yeah, that's really strange because I know they do have a lot of endgame specific dialogue for going back through with Mimir after to all the different areas, and they'll be like, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, you weren't with us the first time here, Mimir. What's up with this? Like Alfheim and those places. So boy gets sick. They take him to Freya. Kratos knocks on the door. Says, Freya. And she has a great line of like, go away, I'm still a god. And just like, banging on the door, yells about the boy. She takes him in. Basically tells him that he's a god who hates gods. His two sides are fighting. You got to tell him he's a god. And to make him well, you got to go to Helheim. You got to go to the underworld. You got to get this heart of the bridge man, the bridge guardian.
Yeah.
Your axe is no good there.
The bridge guardian looks like a bad motherfucker because you can see him in the background of a lot of that world, and I had the exact same thing that Warren had with this world serpent where I was like, oh help me if I gotta fight that fucking thing.
Are you thinking of the big raven, the big bird down in Helheim?
It's like
you never actually fight the bird.
No, it was like it's like cloaked. Maybe it was a raven with its wings like shut, but I was looking at it way down at the other end of the bridge. You don't ever fight it.
No.
But I was looking at it.
Oh, yeah, I remember looking at that, too.
I was looking at it way down the bridge being like, oh, that thing's going to just start fucking moving right.
And later in the game when you fly that ship out of there, you fly like right over it. It whispers or something when you're near it. It like
we're going to have to fucking fight that thing, I bet.
Some shit. Where's Hela in all of this? You go to the underworld, you never meet Hela, who...
Is she even referenced?
No, but there must be a god of the underworld somewhere.
Well, you didn't get too far in though, because that's the bridge is the way in.
We're just kind of on the skirts.
Farther in there, I would assume.
She's gonna be pissed that we killed her bridge guardian.
Yeah, it was all fucked up anyways, because the Valkyries aren't in business, so Helheim's fucked.
She's pissed.
Oh, so the bridge guardian's the thing we do fight?
Yeah, he's just like a big troll. He's just one of those trolls. What
the fuck's a raven then?
We never know. It is in. It's like one of the codex things. Mimir tells you something about it if you take him there. That's the thing
that bugs me. I don't want to fight him.
Yeah.
Also, who would want to go there that isn't actually dead? Why do they need a guardian? Who's just actively walking in there being like, this is the place I want to be?
It's probably to stop people like Kratos from coming out.
I guess.
It's the equivalent of like the river Styx.
They should be fucking facing the other way then.
Yeah. But that's the fucking guard on the inside. He was like kind of like, you're good. He's like checking IDs at the door.
Karen from the. I feel like Karen and Kratos are probably on a first name basis now. A number of times he's been down there. So you get told that your axe is no good. Your ice axe will not stand up to the cold. Helheim is so cold that not even Odin can survive it. And so you got to find something to get down there. Kratos goes back to his house. There's a great part in the beginning of the game too when Baldur shows up and Kratos is like, "Boy, get in the basement." He's, "What you know? You told me to never go down there." And you're like, "Okay, what's he? Has he got his porn stash? Like, what has he got down there?" And then Kratos goes into the basement. Just the fucking Blades of Chaos from the original trilogy, just sitting down there.
Boy, did I pop!
Oh, so did I. And like the music starts getting kind of like to the old music, and he's going in like, "I've done things I'm not proud." Like, just starts getting old and reminiscent. And Holy fuck!
Flexing the bandages.
As he's wrapping those chains back around his arms.
Kind of looking pissed off that he has to as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like, God, I fucking wish I didn't have to do this
I think they hurt. I think they literally sear onto his arms when he does them. But he goes and he gets them, and the blades are so powerful they can withstand the cold of Helheim. Again, a thing that not even Odin himself can withstand, they say.
I feel like the blades were the moment in this game that was the moment that everyone wanted to not... Like, that was the spoiler.
Yes.
In this whole video
100%.
game where it's like, did you get...
Have you
how
seen,
many weapons do you have
that was,
right now?
that was exactly how we talked around it.
Yeah.
Because in the old God of Wars, in 1, 2, 3, you always had 4 weapons.
Yeah.
Always. And so the thing of like, hey, did you find the next weapon yet?
Yeah, that's how you guys talked about it.
Yeah.
Was the reveal of these blades kind of like that point where we were all like, huh, this is actually Kratos of old?
No,
I kind of thought maybe he, like, I was like, when he puts these on, is he going to be just a raging
No,
fucking...
not that, but I mean, like...
this isn't a reboot.
Greece.
This is the same...
Greece.
Oh, I
Kratos
always thought
and
it
all
was
that
the
shit
same
happened.
Kratos.
That was definitely when I again, like, thought totally this was the same thing. Because he's so moody, hates gods, he's about his past. They
again,
allude
like,
to quite a bit of it.
It was ambiguous in that, like, we don't know where... How he came to be here.
Yeah, it's true. He
So-
does, like,
so
vaguely mention his
For
past
me,
from
it's
time to time.
it's the blades telling me like fucking this, yeah. Like he hid them down there to bury his past kind of thing.
And you see Athena. You see a vision
yeah.
of Athena as you're getting them.
Yeah.
And he says, like, Athena.
Get out of my head.
Yeah. Which Mimir hears. And Mimir brings up later, like, oh, I had already guessed you were Greek, but now I'm sure you are. Mentioning Athena. Huh? And... I even like a part where Mimir's like, I'm really, if you ever need to talk, Kratos, I keep secrets real great. Like, I'm here for you.
I'm just a head on your belt.
Yeah.
So.
I knew enough, just the visual of the blades, that I was like, oh, okay, these are the blades from the other one. It obviously didn't have the same effect on me because I didn't play, so it wasn't that cool moment. But then you use them, and you're like, yeah, these are pretty fucking sweet.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, I didn't like, and I know it's a video game, and you gotta have that phase of like, here's how these weapons work.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that now all of a sudden you walk outside of your house and there's like fucking 400 enemies there for you to just fuck up. That like, wait, what happened to that whole shield and that whole thing where like, there wasn't any enemies here before, and now there's fucking 400 of them?
Does the mark get rubbed off at this point, I wonder?
Maybe.
Because you know what? You might have the mark on you,
Maybe.
and the mark got rubbed off. Now they know where you are again.
be.
Yeah. And the stave is already broken.
Yeah.
There's so much attention to detail. I bet that if you
I'm
follow
sure.
the
Yeah.
thread, it probably makes sense.
I did like that they promptly gave me 400 enemies to kill with my Blades of Chaos.
And, like, they are they're not exactly the same, but, like, that square, triangle, like
the same thing.
Those combos that you learn through all those games hit exactly the same. And, oh, man, does it feel good.
Yeah, it was square, triangle, exactly where it was the whack, and then double overhead, where I was like, oh, it feels good to be back.
He ties his blades on. He gets his ass down to Helheim. He gets the heart. Comes back. He heals Boy. And it's as Kratos and Freya are kind of talking over Boy. They give him the medicine or whatever, and they're just waiting for him to come around. And they're having the discussion of like, yo, he's a god. I know you're a god. You got to tell him. Blah blah blah. Boy overhears it. Boy wakes up. And Kratos kind of realizes. So there's a really good part where the audience, knows that Boy overheard because they kind of like just the camera work and stuff.
The specific line was, he's cursed, is the 2 words that he hears.
Yes, he's cursed.
And
That's
then
right.
Boy wakes up and thinks, he doesn't know what that means, but he thinks that it's something completely different.
I think the first he's
that
like,
he's jinxed for lack of...
Don't leave without me or something.
Yeah.
And then, so there's a great part where you're like, okay, Kratos is going to be standard shitty dad and not tell him. Is going to make all these problems for the whole series or whatever. And then immediately, Kratos turns on his heel and just is like, we are gods. Just fucking lays it out in a way that...
Takes a big breath and just... All right.
That's the easiest way to do it sometimes. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
Just go for it.
Rip the searing chains off your arm. And
This is the God of War equivalent of Matt Eads having the talk with his parents about what he likes
exactly
to do on his porch from time to time.
learn some things about me.
I've always been high.
Yes. Boy, cough. You'll get higher. So he just lays it out. He just tells him. He's like, yo, you're a god. And that leads into this boy starting to get super, super arrogant and be like, well, at first he's really curious in a way where he's like, so what kind of like god things can I do? Like, can I fly? Like, can I shoot lasers out of my eyes? What's my thing? And everything Kratos says, he's like, you are welcome to try.
Yeah.
Which is true. Yeah, I think it's the fly specifically. He's like, can I fly? He's like, you are welcome to or surprise me, or like says something really good.
Which is, I thought they did a really good job of capturing a kid finding out he's a god and being like, wait, so can I do this? What about this? Like,
totally.
All these hundreds of questions that you would have, even as an adult. But the kid immediately goes to, what can I do? What's my power? What's my fucking superpower?
Yeah, and even Kratos seems like in relatively good spirits because it's like
he understands
burden has been lifted where he's like, that went better than it could have.
They have like their first good father-son moment.
Yeah.
And boy starts getting more and more arrogant of like, oh, I'm a god. Oh, well, we can... And even like the side quest dialogue changes of like... because before he was very much like, we should help these spirits and stuff. And now it becomes like... Well, if we have time, like he is suddenly too good for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
He specifically wanted to know if he could transform into an animal. Was when the line came about you're welcome to try.
Welcome to try.
Which is another kind
also
of
he totally can.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
well, he's an animal guy, which is interesting. That might be some foreshadowing, maybe.
God of mischief. So this is boy is getting more and more arrogant. They are back on their quest, and this is when Modi shows up. And they basically get Modi down, defeat him pretty easily because he's all banged up and beat up, and like Thor kicked the shit out of him for letting his brother die, and he's beaten. And Modi's just chirping the kid's mother the whole time. He's like, "Oh, your mom was a whore. Your mother's a whore."
This is after also boy has already turned shitty.
Yes, at this point he is like.
I think you've already gone at least one, maybe two fights where you do that, shoot your arrow, and he just fucking. He's jumping on people's necks and just stabbing. Like that's what it was. Your first time you walk in and there's one guy there, and you're like, let's do our usual approach of stealth first. And the kid just fucking runs in there, jumps on his neck, and just starts fucking stabbing the guy.
Yep.
It's just like you have never once gone in stealth for a stab.
but at the same time, Kratos doesn't ever say anything. Like he doesn't ever get pissed at him or be like, the fuck was that? I told you to do something. Like he waits a very long time before he hits his breaking point, which I thought was kind of cool too.
He's like, well, maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe he'll self-correct. There's in the higher difficulties, that part was great because you can only use your summon, your hold square button thing like once every 180 seconds. He doesn't have a cooldown when he's doing his own thing, so he's just fucking firing that thing off like 50 times. I'm like, well, he's not listening, but man, does he kick ass like this. And you run back into Modi, you get him down, and he is defeated. He is done. And Kratos says, like, leave him, let him be. Kratos knows that when you kill gods, you fuck up the world. Don't do it. But boy claims he knows better, and Modi is chirping the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Specifically, and I laugh because this is also another thing that I say all the time. He said something. The boy said something to him, and he said, "That's what your mother said when I was giving it to her." Specifically, giving it to her, which is hilarious. And that's when he like. Jumped on him, stabbed him in the neck, and then threw him off the side of the cliff or whatever that was.
I'd like to give it to you.
Yeah. Kratos says, like, let him be. Boy doesn't listen, stabs him in the neck, and then pushes him down a hole. Again, may not be dead.
It's very similar to how you killed the first guy by throwing him down a hole.
Probably.
They're both just hanging onto the cliffs of fucking Helheim.
So you kick him down there, and boy is being a real shithead still, even after Modi's death. Like Kratos, this is pre-Kratos, like shaking some sense into him.
It's like he's hitting puberty.
Yes,
in like 10 minutes.
It is.
Where he's just a piece of shit now. He's like, he says the word whatever when you tell him to go do something. Whatever. And I'm like, oh, fucking you little piece of shit.
It's so good. He feels like a real. You just want to backhand him.
It was very good. Like I actually got angry at him throughout most of this.
And it was funny because he was shitty for a totally different reason before that, where you're like, you're fucking useless. Yeah. Like, you read to me and blow every fight we ever do. And then all of a sudden he starts to get a little power, and I was like, okay, back it up now.
Now you got a shitty
I want you
attitude.
somewhere in between A and B where you are now.
He doesn't read out loud in this phase of the game. He whenever Kratos tells him to read, he just like, oh, I might want to make a note of that. Like this is the only time he doesn't dictate it to Kratos. The head, Mimir, says something about like, oh, sounded more like your da, stuff like that. And
Sindri, he has like something with Sindri where Sindri's like,
he gets really mad at him.
Welcome back. Let's. What are you looking for? He's like, nothing from you.
He's bitching about his
we
brother
don't have time
again.
for little people and their little problems.
Yeah. And the look of pure devastation on his face too.
The sound of his voice.
Okay. Well,
can I upgrade anything then?
I'll be here.
Yeah.
And it's
again,
so good because
that was my moment where I was like, "You can fucking, I'll throw you off a cliff myself, kid."
And again, the little details similar to like when he starts coughing after he gets sick is that after that happens, if you go and get an upgrade, which I did, and you go into the boy where he usually says, "Oh, and of course we can't forget you." He usually says that, but now he's super timid of the kid where he's like, anything for you or something along those lines. So I'm like, fuck, they did the little details, which is great.
There are like so many different lines from that shop of like, did you buy a lot? Did you buy nothing? Did you look and not buy? Did you upgrade this? Did you of like, there's probably 25 different lines you can say, and then another 25 for like boys in a bad mood, and then another 25 for like boys in with you. It's so well done. So boy is killed Magni. He is at the height of his arrogance right now. He knows he's a god. They don't have time for little people and their little problems. That's the one that starts with that wheel fucking rolling through. And they have found the rune. They have found what they need to open the gate on the top of the mountain where Mimir was. That's the gate to Jotunheim. It's the only path. Tower's missing. They found the key. They're going to open it. As the gate opens, they start going through. Baldur ambushes them. They kind of fight. I can't remember what happens. Kratos like punches Baldur. Kratos does something that destroys the gate initially, or starts cracking it.
The kid tries to attack him, even though he says it starts off with this is my fight or something. Tells the kid to back off.
Yeah,
kid doesn't listen because he's being a piece of shit. Like jumps at him, and he's like choking him, like holding him up by his throat, and then ends up punching him, sends him flying, knocks him out, whatever. And then you go into rage mode, and that's when you like pick him up and like slam him into the gate that ends up cracking.
Then the kid loses it on you, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't he like, oh, you fucking idiot?
You Kratos do something that you like throw Baldur through the gate or something and it cracks. I don't know if it's this fight. It's definitely one of the Baldur fights. So Baldur is the brother of Thor, the half, maybe the full brother, whatever. Baldur and Thor, brothers. There's a great part where Baldur has Loki, Atreus, in his hand, and unknowingly that they're looking for him at this point, says like, just shit talk. He's like, "You'll be my new brother now." And there's some great like, okay, there's a whole
I don't think I caught that.
timey-wimey thing going on here.
Yeah.
Boy gets really pissed at Kratos when this happens. The fight is still going on. He's like, "You said you have to destroy it. You always break everything," or something like that.
Which is true.
It's not wrong. And so it's kind of like it's a very Thor Ragnarok scene of they're flying through the portal and fighting Baldur, and they get kind of like thrown out of the Bifrost, and they get spiraled through the realms, and they wind up back in Helheim. And that's when Kratos grabs Boy, and he's like, this path you are on has to stop. You disgrace your mother. You listen to me." And like that's kind of the end of it. And then Boy fucking shapes up. I know a lot of people in our chat, anyways, at least had big problems with the fact that heal arc is like, maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half of gameplay, and then it's just kind of wrapped up like that. I will put to you that being thrown into the depths of hell, where Atreus has never been, doesn't know Helheim or Hades or how death and life works and all that, probably pretty fucking shocking to a 15-year-old, maybe enough to scare them straight.
Wasn't there... maybe I just misinterpreted it, but wasn't there something where, like, when he first sees that shadow thing of him killing, stabbing the guy in the throat and throwing him down there, wasn't there a moment of I don't want to say a spell, but that there was some other reason that caused him to be shitty?
There might be. So when you're in Helheim, this is like the next scene. When you're in Helheim, you see visions of kind of your life, the deeds you've done, and they're supposed to make you crazy, which is why we see Baldur is reliving. We don't know. We know. You see the scene of his mother making him invulnerable. You don't know who she is at this point, but basically gives him the Pirates of the Caribbean curse of like, you live forever, but you drink. You never satisfied. Food turns to ash in your mouth.
It's a shitty life, and
all the pleasurable company in the world, etc., etc.
He's not happy about it.
Not at all. And you see him just standing there, just like yelling at his own shadow. And you're like, okay, Helheim makes people fucking nuts. And Boy sees himself killing Modi. That scene we saw before. And yeah, he does say something, and I wrote it even on the sheet here.
That wasn't me or something.
Yeah, he's like that can't have been me. That wasn't me. And I think that maybe
that made me think that he was under some sort of a spell or something that caused him to be shitty.
How the Greek gods got a little corrupted. Maybe was and again, maybe we're reading way too much into this, but that's the point of these spoiler casts.
I thought it was more like you wake up after a blackout night and someone shows you a video on your phone.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not me. That doesn't seem like Brandon.
5 people to get in my pocket? What?
Very embarrassed about that one.
Well, and also, I'm sure that there was a lot of side stuff that you could have done between the two. I went right from there to there.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything for me in between.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was supposed to be more time that he would actually forgot that he had done that.
No, I think he's just like, again, we don't know the nature of Loki, right? Loki is the god of mischief. Maybe he is this like dual persona. Who knows? Like he doesn't seem he doesn't seem like a bad dude. It doesn't seem like a mischievous. He seems like a good, honest kid.
No, not in like the Tom Hiddleston kind of Marvel way.
But you're right. Maybe that is even just a hint at his like.
Maybe that's what he can do.
Yeah,
that's his god.
There's an anger in there.
Yeah, and again, like it could even just be like his parentage, right? It's Kratos's. It's that rage that Kratos has to overcome.
He also had a moment. This is going back now to when you first meet the nephews and fight them, where and maybe that's where the sickness started or something like that. But he had a moment where he got really angry at something they said and did kind of the pose of when you do rage mode.
I think he makes thunder or something.
But he also, like, he kind of veined up and had sort of Kratos-looking stuff that I thought maybe that was a sign of him having that rage mode, too.
Would make a lot of sense. Would make a lot of sense. Look who his dad is.
Yeah.
But
they do hammer home that no two gods are alike at the same time, too.
Right.
Yep, that's right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't have the same power. It just wouldn't mean that that's the only power he has, right?
Yeah, totally. It's so weird. Like, Kratos doesn't really have powers per se, other than he is just fucking unstoppable.
I kind of thought the rage was a power, just because
a little bit
at the beginning, there's a line where he's talking with the kid where he says, "Anger can be a tool if you know how to control it," or something along those lines.
The power of every weapon comes from here, and points at his heart, but only. So he says we had a debate of like, because in the next game you're gonna fight Thor, and Thor has Mjolnir. And so we sort of had the talk of like, what do you take up against Mjolnir? Do you take the Blades of Chaos? Are those powerful enough? Like, is the axe maybe not? And it all like really harkened back to that line of like, whatever, the weapon is just the weapon. The weapon is just the focus of the power. It's gonna totally, I think, be that Thor thing of like, what are you, the god of hammers? No, there's just a stick that the lightning comes out of. We don't need it.
Yeah.
And there's a great line in there too. I forgot about where Brock sees the blades. And like, just, well, what is that? Them's something special. I never.
That's right.
He says, them's family heirlooms. And like, Kratos is like, fucking no, they're not. Never will be. Or something like that.
Yeah.
But he alludes to like the Blades of Chaos. He's never seen them. They, even by the standards of the guy who made Mjolnir, those blades are something special.
And do we know, like, they were forged by Ares? Do we know that?
So the blades
Hephaestus?
if they're the blades that Athena gives you, Hephaestus makes them because you got to go to Hephaestus in 3, and you got to get that ring.
Like they're not.
You got to get that ring for him in the beginning, and
I feel like they're not by name. The ones that Athena gave you.
They could be the blades of it. If they're the blades of chaos, they're from the pits of Tartarus, and those would be the OG ones that Ares gave you.
Yeah, those are the ones I hope we have.
Yeah, sure, because Athena's still out there. Athena could still be pulling the strings. Well, we assume she's out there.
In your head somewhere.
That could be a flashback. It's never clear if that's a flashback or if that's actually the ghost of Athena showing up to be like, yo, what's up?
The one where she's in the boat specifically seems very much like she is presently here talking to you in your head.
Yeah, that's when you're getting the blades, though. So I don't know. It could be Kratos for looking at these blades for the first time in 50 years or whatever, or
just
who
remembering
knows?
What he used to be.
Yeah.
Because she talks to you in your house and in the boat, right? Aren't there two?
But I think the boat is on the way to go get the blades.
Yeah,
because you leave the witch's house to go get the blades before you go to get the heart.
Right.
So the kid's sick. You don't have the kid with you. She shows up in the boat when you're on the boat to get to your house to then get the blades.
Gotcha.
Maybe she's mounted the blades.
Would that not
and the whole world is also darker at that, and there's like red specks of shit. It's totally different looking in that journey to go get the blades, which I think also ties in to him kind of not being happy about having to go back to the way things were, and that's why everything's kind of darker around him.
And remembering his
warping
like
the world
past.
around him.
Fuck, I hated how I used to be. Or I hate how I used to be.
Well, that's his.
I love how he used to be.
That's his like ultimate lesson, right? That he teaches boys, like you overcome your rage, right? Powered by this, but only when tempered by your dome.
Yeah.
And I mean, other I guess other than the theme of I don't know, kids are always going to kill their parents. I guess.
That is a very godlike lesson. Yeah.
Patricide.
That's what I tell my parents all the time. Yeah. One day, clock's ticking, you old bastards.
Ready for my blades.
The second I find out I'm a god,
that's
you're
it.
toast.
Like that.
So when they're in Helheim right now, they've been thrown there as the portals collapsed. Boy's having his visions of Modi, whatever. Kratos starts hearing Zeus. Kratos starts hearing his father that he killed in God of War 3, Zeus. And at first, it's kind of just a voice of like, "You're an arrogant and petulant child," or whatever that line right at the end of 2 is.
I don't even think we touched on that during our recap for people who don't know, but Zeus is Kratos' father.
Zeus is Kratos' father. Did I totally gloss over that?
Yeah.
I think so. It's
sorry
one of
about
those
that.
things that maybe you
Like
just
we
forget
all
to
know.
tell.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it.
That is a little tie-in of the whole thing that kicked it off is Zeus learned a prophecy that he'd be killed by one of his sons. And he in typical like prophecy / time travel, he set out to stop it, but actually made it happen.
Right.
And Kratos does kill Zeus.
The other thing, too, when you go get the heart, the first time you're in that area, you see Zeus.
Okay. Maybe that's
big
what I'm
cloud,
thinking of.
and then when you're back with the kid,
Right.
then there's that replay of you killing him that the kid
just
also sees.
fucking beating him to
Yeah.
death over that table.
I remember hitting X for every one of those punches.
They replay the cutscene from the end of 3 of you killing Zeus, and then you can see Boy's visions and you can see Baldur's visions, so you know damn well Boy can see your visions. And basically that is Kratos' worst secret, is that he killed his father. He never wants Boy to know that. And so when it comes up, Kratos addresses it and he's like, "That old man that you saw," or whatever, and Boy just completely is like, "I didn't see anything."
And they were also focusing on getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And I've said this to Brando too. That specific scene was fucking incredible because you're watching this all happen. The camera, kind of without you really noticing, because you're watching what you've already seen if you've played the games. If not, it's a pretty important thing. You can just tell. The camera eventually becomes you are Kratos. You are in Kratos' head.
Yep. That's how it
And
plays
then-
in 3, because you are first person punching in 3. So
Sure.
that's what it recreates.
And then the vision like fades, and Boy is like walking towards you, and like you are now like looking down at your own hands, and then you look up at the kid and have that exact conversation, which I thought was really cool that they did.
And you're
that.
like, he saw you.
Yeah.
100%.
But he's just like,
And he doesn't want to move. Like the kid
see.
actually walks up and grabs your hand and be like, "We gotta fucking go. Like let's fucking deal with this shit later."
yeah.
The same way that you did to him when he saw the vision of him killing, what's his name?
He
knows.
He knows, yeah.
He
There
knows.
was a part I glossed over a little earlier that we'll go back to because it's kind of out of nowhere, but it's super cool. So he sees that vision, and so you know at this point, okay, Boy knows. Boy knows that Kratos kills his dad. Boy knows that this theme of parents being killed by their children suddenly becomes the front and center of the story. And they even talk about it like as they're on their journey, and Boy says like they have the conversation like why all these people kill their parents or whatever. Would you let me kill you? And Kratos is like, well, if it meant you would survive, yes, I would. And they kind of just leave it at that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Boy knew that was your dad when he sees it. I think there's a conversation that happens later that you reveal that Zeus is your dad, or Mimir tells you, or kind of is like, you should probably tell him what the fuck that vision was that he saw.
I think you're right.
But they do have that exact conversation. I just think it's split up into two, where the kid sees it, but maybe doesn't exactly know what it was. He knows that it's his dad, probably.
I forget what they're talking about. Oh, it's. I think it. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think it's after the death of Baldur, because I think they're talking about like why would Frey just let
Might be. Yeah.
Baldur
Yeah.
kill her?
That conversation happens
you're
right
right.
at the very end.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to that.
Also, sorry, just to go back one more time. To
Don't
the,
be.
to
This
the-
is why we do this.
The Zeus thing.
Yeah.
When you first see him, you have Mimir with you, and he fucking freaks out. He's like, "Hold on!
Yeah.
Your dad is fucking Zeus? Did I just like, and he's like, I got so many questions right now, and you're just like, shut up.
Quiet.
He's like, all right, I'll just wonder in my own head then.
I forgot about that.
So great. That whole dialogue, and he like brings it, he's like, I gotta ask one more time. Is that your dad? And like he's just like pestering you on the way
you
back.
want to talk about, brother?
You beat the shit out of him.
So good.
So they eventually get out of Helheim. Where are we on my sheet
On a
here?
boat.
But they fly that boat out, yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, they got to keep the fires lit and whatever.
Like a bat out of Helheim.
Ha! Be gone when the morning comes.
And then so they're sort of at a loss. They get out of Helheim. They're like, well, the quest is fucked. Like they only get to Jotunheim's gone. The tower's missing. We're out of luck. And it's also, I don't know when it is. It's right around this point that it is in Helheim, because it's when you see Balder talking to. You do put together that she's Freya, because you bring
I was
up...
going to say, when you brought that up the first time, I was like, I think we see her being Freya.
Yeah, and you put it together, and I think Atreus, someone's like, Freya's Balder's mother? And Mimir goes, oh, that's right, she is Balder's mother. And then he goes, why did you not tell me this head, or whatever. He's like, tell you what. Like, he's completely... It turns out he's enchanted. Mm-hmm. Freya has used magic to make him be unable to speak of Balder's weakness.
Yeah, they reference that later when it's revealed that he knew it.
That's right.
And I love, again, that dialogue of him being like, oh yeah, I did know the weakness. And they're like,
every single
what
time.
Is it? He's like, well, what is what?
Yeah.
At
the time it happens...
Balder's invulnerable. He just keeps repeating like, he's invulnerable.
That he keeps saying,
and
he's weak to nothing.
At the time he says it, I'm just like, this is fucking terribly written.
Kratos keeps doing it, and then I remember he laughs. It's like a bit, because Kratos makes him say it like 3 times in a row, and then goes laughs, because he's like, oh, she is enchanted, and like just keeps repeating that same phrase. There's a part in here too that we glossed over where Sindri gives Atreus green arrows, mistletoe arrows. Sindri, it's something to do with a dragon. I can't remember why Sindri has them, but he's like, oh, I got these great arrows for you, here you go. And when they meet Freya earlier, she burns them.
I think we got them off the dragon, didn't we? And
for
then
sure,
brought
Sindri,
them to Sindri, and Sindri's like, oh, I can make you some arrows out of those.
Yeah,
the tooth. You take the tooth out of the dragon.
That's for the string, I remember.
Oh,
but I know he just gives you some mistletoe arrows.
It's
for whatever
something
reason.
from that dragon, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Freya's like, takes them away from her.
Freaks out, says, these are wicked, these are evil, where did you get these? Burn them. Prior to that, Boy's strap on his quiver had broken. And Kratos is like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, my quiver broke. It's not a big deal. I can hold it. And he says, like, we suffer pain, not broken equipment or something. And takes one of the arrows.
Something badass.
Yeah, it's good. It's something like, I think it's like, we suffer injuries, not bad equipment.
Yeah.
Something almost just like
broken
that.
Bones, not broken equipment.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
So Kratos takes one of the arrows, snaps it, and like kind of uses it to pin the quiver back together, which becomes very important because Freya burns those mistletoe arrows.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, and if you know the Norse mythology, the story of Balder, Freya went to every single thing in the universe and got its oath that it would not harm Balder. That's how Balder is invulnerable. Freya went to every single thing in the universe, said, give me your oath, you will not harm my son. That was everything. That was fire, that was water, lightning, all the animals, everything except the humble mistletoe.
Why?
Because I think in the legend it's just mistletoe. I don't know. I didn't
mistletoe
bother.
had a sick day?
Mistletoe didn't want it. Like, I'm good.
I'm
I'm not gonna go to my way, but I'm also not gonna promise anything. What happens, happens.
C'est la vie.
What happens under the mistletoe stays under the mistletoe.
So Boy has one mistletoe arrow, which we never learn is Balder's weakness until it is through his hand. And again, we can jump ahead a little bit. They gotta get the eye out of... So they get eaten by Jormungandr. They need Mimir's other eye. They figure out a way to get to Jotunheim. It involves 2 eyes. And one of them, for whatever reason, was hidden in the statue of Thor.
I don't remember, what the logic of that was.
The Bifrost... So you remember in the Realm Travel Room? Where it's got all the crystals around them? The Jotunheim crystal is missing. So they're gonna hold up Mimir... And he's going to, refract the energy or something they say, but he needs 2 eyes.
Oh, okay.
And then, so they go into Jormungandr's stomach.
How did he lose his first eye? Zeus took it from him?
I think Odin took it from him or something.
That's what I meant, Odin.
Yeah, one of the gods took it and put it in that statue of Thor.
Supposedly so he could not do this exact thing, maybe?
Yeah,
Or maybe just because he likes to rip
I think
the man apart.
I know they talk about it because he tells the story about how he almost got the Bifrost crystals in his nipples instead of his eyes.
Well,
And that's a great. That's a really good one. He's, oh, my nipples! Can you imagine? And
he's great. I can't wait for the Talking Reckless Character of the Year award.
it's Mimir,
For all the
Sindri,
nominations to
Brock,
be from this game.
No kidding.
And the World Serpent.
and Yorm. So they go into Yorm's stomach. They get the eye. He gets kind of like beat to shit while he's in there. 'Cause something happens and Yorm spits him out. And you learn that Balder shows up.
Beating the shit out of the snake while
Balder
you're in there.
says like, if I hurt the big snake, I knew I'd find you, or whatever.
Which makes you wonder if he knows anything at this point. Because he had, like, that line made me think, like, why did he think we would come?
How did he know to hit the snake?
Yeah.
Well, I sort of assumed just because we had talked to the snake so many times, and like it's
maybe.
Anytime that snake moves, anybody in Midgard is gonna know. Like anytime it's talking to you, like everybody knows.
Couple more great things too. When so the snake had eaten the statue, and then you have to go into the snake. So when you talk to the snake, be like, hey. Which is Mimir also talking to him.
Yeah.
He's like, he's allowing us to, and like just the way that the snake just kind of like moves over, goes into the water, and just like opens his mouth and
Like
stays
rolls
there.
his eyes.
And then Mimir's like, just so you know, he's not too enthused about the idea either. And you can go over there and like float, do the boat in there, which it looked really cool in there, which is great.
Oh yeah.
I was a little, just to be a little contradictory though, I didn't like the fact that it was all like super convenently mapped out with like, there's a rope for you to, and there's a chest perfectly upright, and
they put a video game level in that man's belly.
I was kind of hoping that it was just going to be like a beach that you had to just kind of search around until you found the part of the statue that, there it is, got it, see ya.
Still a video game.
I know.
sometimes.
It just seemed a little weird.
Yeah, and we are like we are kind of skipping over some stuff we can mention after, but like at some point here you get the chisel, you fight that, or
You ever talk about fighting the giant?
That comes right now. That's after Balder punches you out of the snake because you're fighting Balder and Freya shows up, and that's what made me think of it. Actually, is you like fucking what do you? Oh, you knock his big ass hammer. So you need the tip of his chisel and it's frozen way down in the ice, and you knock down this huge like skyscraper sized hammer.
Great
to fucking knock it over. And there's some real good like Kratos being extra strong parts there.
Yep.
Just
as strong as he needs to be.
When Mimir gets his second eye too. He has a great line about not having depth perception has been a real bitch or something along those lines.
Depth till it's
Until it's gone. Yeah, that's what it was. Great.
So he gets his eyes, and Balder has beaten the shit out of the snake, and like I think it's at this point that kind of enough is enough. Kratos and Balder are squaring off, like let's fucking finish this. Yeah. Freya shows up. You by this point know that Freya is Balder's mother, and she is initially just kind of trying to break you guys up. She is like, stop it, you quit fighting, stop, and is like wrapping you up in roots and stuff, and you guys are just tearing out of them, just going to town on one another, and eventually she reanimates that giant. It's a big giant, the one that you took the chisel from, and starts like, boom, pounding fists down, and you basically
This is really cool.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Fighting around all this shit.
Fucking keeps blowing. It doesn't do any damage, he just like... is blowing at you and it just pushes you back. Like, fucking stop it!
It's just trying to protect him. At that point.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not even trying to kill you necessarily.
Because
she doesn't stop you.
She
from
doesn't
killing
hate you.
No, not at all. And she's even like pleading with Atreus, like Atreus, tell your dad to stop.
Yeah.
Like you have to stop this. And it gets to the point where, my order of events is a little out. At some point, the mistletoe goes through Baldur's hand, and I
think that was like his first attack, right? Because that's what weakens him, and that's what allows for Kratos to actually hurt him. Into the fight.
Yeah, it was pretty early.
Goes through his hand, and he immediately is like, oh, "I can feel that. This is amazing."
He's so
and
happy about it too.
Yeah, just like he's like, "Punish me, Kratos. Make me hurt more." And
weird kink.
He's way into it.
Yeah.
Yggdrasil is my safety word.
He becomes vulnerable. They start fighting, and the fight is like basically over. Kratos is choking out Balder, and Boy recreates the scene from earlier where Kratos was like, "No, don't kill Modi." Boy's like, "He's beaten, Dad. Let him go. Let him go. He's beaten."
Like
and
word
Kratos,
for word,
yeah,
I think.
takes his hands off. He's like, "You're right." Baldur then tries to kill Freya. And Freya is just letting it happen because Baldur hates Freya for making him invulnerable and basically ruining his life. And she's just there, like, letting it happen. She's like, if this is what you want. And Kratos says something to the effect of, like, the cycle ends here or whatever. It just whoosh, snaps his neck. And that is the end of Baldur. Just dead, hits the floor. As he's falling, says the word, snow, and dies. Baldur, it turns out, is the god of
springtime,
of the summer sun,
summer.
Of summer,
summer.
like changing
summer.
basically out of winter into summer. So when he dies and says snow, it immediately starts snowing. We've also heard rumors up to this point from Ymir and kind of in the text that Ragnarok begins with a 3-year winter, begins with Fimble winter. And so, as soon as...
That's a funny word.
Yeah, I can't never remember if it's Fumble or... I think it's Fimble winter.
I think it's Fimble, too.
Somebody will correct you.
Yeah, I'm sure they already have. You kill Baldur, and it suddenly becomes very apparent that, like, oh, we are starting the problem. This is like the first God of War.
Step one.
Yeah, we are trying to avoid this prophecy, but are actually reenacting it. We are making it happen. Ragnarok is a fucking go at this point. Freya has sworn vengeance on you. She is so fucking mad that you killed Baldur and saved her life. She like swear like just oath after oath of like I will suffer 1,000 lifetimes to like just this
parade your corpse through this and that.
Man, it's lewd and rude.
Yeah, I was like, whew.
She is mad.
Hell hath no fury.
Oh yeah.
Witch scorned. Going back to the fight, there was, and I said this to Rando when I played it too. A lot of cool. I actually thought the fight was maybe too easy, and maybe that's just because I had bumped it down to the regular difficulty that I should have maybe been playing on the harder one.
I thought it was easy.
Yeah. I don't think any of those Baldur fights were hard.
Which kind of sucks because, well,
the last one was hard
Plus,
only because of all the Draugr. They add so she keeps throwing Draugr into the fight. Freya keeps adding them. You're like, this fucking sucks.
I thought that was kind of a little bit of a letdown because like you fought him twice, and even I think the achievement for the second time is like round 2. So you're like, okay, the round 3 is going to be fucking great. But the moment, were they on the snake or the giant?
They were on the snake.
They were fighting on the back of the snake.
I know, 'cause this is my favorite part. Maybe
and he
in the
like
whole game.
fucking throws boy up in the air.
That's the giant. That's the hand of the giant.
I thought it was
the
on the
giant?
snake.
No, Snake gets taken out of commish real early.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the snake came.
And then Snake shows up at the very end because you think he's gone.
That's
Snake
right.
shows up at the very end and like whoosh, grabs on like a fucking python, grabs onto the head of the giant and just like whoosh takes him down. And you're like, I guess he's okay.
But yeah, he throws like boy in the air, does like a backflip.
Oh yeah,
pulls out his arrow and like shoots him, and it was the fucking dopest. I'm like,
you the player have to press square like you've been doing.
Yeah.
Where the fuck has this been the whole fucking game, you piece of shit?
Should have fucking upgraded to that combo earlier.
They get in like perfect sync.
Where's that on the ability tree?
It's a great fight. And like you say, to being kind of disappointing. That was a big thing coming into God of War 4 from 2 and 3 especially, was you fought a lot of boss fights with health bars. It was almost like a boss rush, God of War 3. Just God after God after God after God. You kind of don't do that in this game. The only ones you fight are those same trolls with the totems, the giants with the totems. And
that's definitely one of the step backs that it took from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
The set pieces in general, like some of the set pieces in that original trilogy, like the Kronos fight, and like some of those were just unbelievable and more movie than controlled fighting. And then this one, it was like that last thing's probably the craziest thing you did.
Yeah, the scale isn't as blown out as it is. At least yet. I mean,
maybe it gets there.
God of War took a game to get there.
That's true.
You fought...
And God of War was very much like, this first game is about defeating this one god.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll get to the point where it's like, okay, now we're going after the whole pantheon, and it's getting bigger and bigger because you need to get bigger to like stay out of all the water that's filling up around you.
We'll do because we did like the Titans in God of War 2. We'll do the Vanir in God of War 5, and then we get the Olympian gods. We'll do the Aesir.
We've never even been to Asgard yet.
Yeah, or Svartalfheim.
Yep.
Svartalfheim, whatever that one is.
So you can't go there then. I wasn't sure if that was maybe something you can unlock afterwards. Okay. No. Interesting that they would even put it in there.
So I think because you have to show that you could use this area to get to all these worlds in the lore.
Yeah.
Sure.
Are there not realms that you can visit that the story does not take you in?
Only Muspelheim. They're the challenge realms, the fire realm and the mist realm. And there's a little bit of story there. Yeah, Niflheim.
Niflheim?
And then there's 2 that are completely locked.
Yes, Asgard and Svartalfheim. Whatever I'm saying, I'm going to say it differently every time, and eventually
the
I'll
one that
get it.
starts with an S.
None of us is going to correct you.
Yeah.
So we've kind of glossed over some stuff here and there. Like at some point we went and we flipped the fucking temple in the middle of the thing.
So good.
And
Great.
there's a like he goes to flip it initially and it's chained down, and at first he lifts it and it like doesn't flip, right? It's stuck, and I'm like, of course he can't. He's not gonna flip the temple. Like even Kratos can't flip it. And then he's like, I need to break these chains or whatever. Like, no, okay, never mind. Here we fucking go.
Here we go.
And Mimir brings up the thing of like, what's going to happen if we flip a room that is tied to all 9 realms? Like, I don't care.
It was one of the biggest examples of just like taking like the legend of mythology and being like, what if we did it like actually physically for real?
Yeah.
And had this strong guy literally flip a temple on its head.
Good. And it's kind of in some of this stuff here that we glossed over where you learn about Tyr and how Tyr is he's not really... The mythology's fast and loose. Kind of Odin is kind of the closest to a real god of war. But anyways, they call Tyr the god of war. Tyr is the Norse god of war, and he was beloved. He is unique because the people loved their god of war, which is pretty strange. And Tyr built the temple with all the races and like worked together to make this all happen. And it's kind of revealed that Tyr sort of had a hand in setting all this up. You have sort of been fulfilling this prophecy. Events have been orchestrated by Fae and by fate and by Tyr. That Tyr built this temple knowing this was going to happen. Tyr hid his black rune stone because you do find a way to restore the Jotunheim Tower, which is supposed to be impossible. It turns out that Tyr hid it so that you, Kratos and Boy, only Kratos and Boy could find it.
And which like kind of paints the whole picture of like everything, like Ragnarok, the 3-year winter, everything was always going to be done by us.
Yep. Yeah, we have been just taken this. We've already made the choices. We're just understanding why now.
Do you think Ragnarok is 2 or 3?
I think probably 3.
Yeah,
we build up to it in 2 and then do it in 3. It's there's some very, very interesting stuff too where they, and again we're jumping all over the place. They get into Jormungandr and Thor hate one another because it's really strange. They hate one another because they fight at Ragnarok, and because they fight at Ragnarok, they hate each other, and they fight with such a ferocity that Jormungandr gets blown through time and space to the beginning of time.
When that story is told by Mimir, Kratos says, "That's madness."
Yes. And Boy even brings up, like, that doesn't make sense. And he's like, oh, you're learning then. And, like, they bring up that, like, time and space and reality doesn't really make sense
and
here.
This whole thing is going to very much be a loop in some way.
Yep. So keep that time stuff in mind. We're going to talk about it in just a sec. I want to actually get to kind of the end of the game, and then we'll cover some stuff we skipped over. Baldur dies, says snow. Kicks off Fimbulwinter, starts Ragnarok. Kratos and Boy, they have their way to Jotunheim. They found it. They found the Black Rune. They restored the tower. As they're walking, as they enter Jotunheim, at first they are kind of making their way up the mountain. They see all these prophecies on the walls. That it's revealed that Faye, the Kratos' wife, made these hieroglyphics, made these paintings on the walls, and they show everything you've been through. Every single thing, like, oh, here's us waking up Jormungandr. Here's us, like, killing Modi and Magni. Here's us in Helheim.
Going all the way back to her getting the axe originally from the giants.
Yep. And it even goes past where they are in the game, but it's covered by a tapestry or whatever, so they don't see it. Kratos does see a little bit of it. There is one still, and a lot of people, I will fight you to the death on this, think that it is a still of... it shows Kratos kind of laying down. Loki is sort of... Atreus is kind of cradling his head, and there's a big snake going like crazy out of Loki's mouth. Everybody... Because they talk about, like, you know, Boy's like, would you let me kill you? And he's, yeah, of course I would if you would survive. Every single person I've ever talked to thinks that is an image of Loki killing Kratos. Today before this podcast, I watched that thing like 30 times. I sat and I stared at that image. It looks like Loki cradling a dying Kratos. It doesn't look like he's killing him. Jormungandr is like...
I thought.
It looks like Jormungandr is coming out of his mouth, maybe, but it's not like a lot of people thought it was like going into Kratos' chest and like busting... I
think it's...
None of that, really.
I think it is very intentionally supposed to not be clear.
100%.
Yes.
But...
And I think the point of having Kratos see that is to have him think that it is his son killing him.
Yeah, maybe.
He's
Now
probably
he's
like,
on
"Oh,
edge,
of course."
and now he can decide whether he wants to let that happen or not, and how that's going to end.
That's the part too where Kratos is like, I can't remember. Boy sets him up real nice. He's like, oh, she knew our whole story or whatever. He's like, not our story, your story. Like, oh fuck.
They also point out here that Kratos didn't know any of this.
That's correct. Yeah,
I wasn't the only parent with a secret, I believe was the line.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Oh, that's so good.
Cool to know that he didn't even know about any of this shit.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, the fuck?
And I'm at like holler at the TV mode when he says that. Like, what is her secret? I don't understand.
So that scene to me, right there, I think that is the birth of Jormungandr. Jormungandr is Loki's son in Norse mythology, and because Jormungandr is a snake out of time, like that thing has to get resolved somewhere. It's weird because Jormungandr has to be born but exists right now.
It is a loop.
Yep.
But where are we in the loop?
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So they show that scene. I don't know. That to me looks like Kratos dies, Jormungandr's born. Maybe it's the soul of Kratos, and I don't know.
There was no evidence to support that it was him actively killing him.
Absolutely not. No.
He may have killed him, and he was just holding him in his last moments. We don't know that.
Totally might.
There's nothing in that image to show that, like, his own axe is in his fucking body somewhere or something. Like, there's none of that. I thought it was...
And it would suck to know that yet.
Yeah.
Like, it would
Yes.
suck if they were like, here's what happens.
Yeah.
Totally.
Enjoy the story of getting there. Whereas now it's like, is he going to kill us?
Nah, they're
or
too...
is he not going to kill us?
They're too smart, and like their narrative feels like way too sewn up. I think that thing is like a tight package already.
It's
Yeah.
going to be a great reveal when they get to it, because it's going to be exactly that. That picture is going to show up somehow.
We all think we know
One way
what's
or another.
happening, and then they're going to pull the rug out from under
Yep.
us. So they see all that stuff on the walls. It's kind of revealed like, oh, we were just fulfilling the prophecy the whole time. And Boy's allowed to carry the ashes for the first time. He's been asking repeatedly through the game, hey, can I carry Mom's ashes? And Kratos is like, no, you're a fuck up. No. And he finally, this is it. Yep, you can carry him. As they are climbing the peak to Jotunheim,
We had a moment, because Brandon was here watching. He had, like...
I walked in just in time.
It was after the podcast last
I
week.
was doing our show.
And I was like, actually, I'd kind of stopped because I knew you were coming home. And I'm like, he might want to watch this just before we do the spoiler cast. We were kind of fucking around in that, like, when you first give him the ashes, and he's like, you're like, yeah, you're ready to go. He's kind of like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. We're like, how funny would it be if he like tripped and fell immediately and just dropped it off the mountain?
Yeah.
I wasn't ready.
You're coming up to this like rope bridge, and I was like, oh, you fucking give it to him after the rope bridge.
grabs it in the bottom of the
One
bag,
more
rips
obstacle.
So as you're crossing this rope bridge and climbing the highest peak, you see just giant hands and corpses and the bodies of... So the frost giants are missing right now. We don't know where they are. All we know is they're missing, and we know that Thor killed a bunch of them. It's revealed at this point, no, Thor killed them all, and here they are. They are dead in Jotunheim, which is like a real bummer.
This was another thing that it was tough to flip my brain because of my only experience to Norse mythology
Big
being
giants.
the Thor movies, where I like looked at it and I was like, I like Jotunheim was supposed to be like all snowy and shit.
Yeah. It was a little snowy.
It was a little snowy.
Full of the corpses of giants.
We don't know for a fact that was all of the giants.
That's very true. So I
There's
have
a lot of the giants.
I have a theory.
Most probably,
We'll wrap the story and then I'll remind me about that.
because they didn't really say anything. Yeah.
So this whole quest gets kicked off because Odin sends Baldur to find the last frost. There's one frost giant left. It's Faye. We don't know where she is. She's in her stave. Go find her. Stave gets broken. Baldur's looking for the last giant.
How'd the stave get broken again?
Kratos cut down the tree.
Right.
Faye marked the tree to kick this whole thing off.
Yes.
But Odin is looking for the last frost giant, is why this whole thing gets kicked off. The frost giants are going to bring Ragnarok. If we destroy all the frost giants, no Ragnarok. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
But in a way, the giants do bring Ragnarok about. And that's, I think that's the end of the game. I mean, you go home after if you
you get on-screen credits as you're walking back down.
Yeah. You get the Loki reveal. Obviously.
Yeah, that happens on the way up.
You get before, so when you right at the bottom of the stairs, Mimir's like, This is your moment.
Oh, yeah.
Leave me
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And then you throw
Leave him
him
with the dwarves.
And the guy who's like, I can do this. No, I can't do this. And he gives it to Brock.
And they are building him a mech suit. They're like they take all kinds of measurements and shit.
Yeah.
They are gonna build that guy a fucking mech suit for
And
the
then you
next
come
game.
back and
He's just lying on the ground.
His head is just lying there. He's like, thank God I couldn't take any more dwarf time or whatever he said.
So in that part where you leave Mimir with the dwarves, if you go and do all the Valkyries, you learn that Freya visits Mimir in that time. Well, you are in Jotunheim and Mimir is just left by himself. Freya shows up, talks to Mimir. We learn that Freya is the original and only Queen of the Valkyries. Odin, I think, hid her wings. She's looking for her wings. That's what she wants from Mimir. She's like, yo, tell me where my wings are. I got some fighting to do now. So it sounds like
so she's gonna be a
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
Yeah, Valkyrie,
come to kick our
Wing, and
ass.
Freya might show up later in the
Fuck.
games.
How does that scene happen?
You beat the last Valkyrie Queen, and Sigund, the Queen of the Valkyries, tells you that.
Oh,
Yeah, you gotta do all 8 of them.
So you don't actually see the scene of her talking to Mimir. It's just told.
Why did
Yeah.
Mimir tell us?
I don't.
She probably cursed him.
Because
probably.
he's enchanted, I guess. I don't know. To give you some reason to do the Valkyries, maybe?
Also, during this credit roll is where you get kind of the story of Atreus' name. And
Oh, yeah.
Atreus was named after a Spartan warrior in Kratos' camp who was always in a good mood and smiling
Always
and shit.
smiling.
Which is funny to...
The shittiest Spartan.
Yeah. Which is funny to picture Kratos somewhere in his...
Remembering
fucking
that.
like rage.
Oh, you
of
knew
being this
he
angry.
hated old Spartan. Fucking Atreus.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden when they're having a kid, he's just like, I guess that's a good quality to have in your heart. Fucking shit warrior, though.
Yeah. So at this point in the game now, after you've killed Baldur, if you roam around, it is snowing everywhere.
Yep.
And you go back home if you want, and
Which I kind of don't like that it doesn't even give you even a hint to be like, hey,
They fucking Red Dead you.
you should go back home maybe. See what's going on at home.
they sort of do.
I mean,
Isn't there something
Kratos
that says go home somewhere?
Let's
Yeah,
go
They
home.
totally. They say like, yeah, let's go home,
Does it-
and Mimir will even be like, well, you can go home, or we
what
can
it
do
was.
these things
Mimir
out here,
said that.
brother. But you're right. Until someone told me,
Even
like,
a
yo,
marker or something to be like, oh, it's something going on in my house.
it was great. I would have loved to have stumbled into that organically. And
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
yeah, that would have been cool.
Because you do go home, and they're like, keep in mind they're gods, and this is a story of mythology. And he says, I'm going to sleep through winter, which in the case of gods literally means he is going to sleep through winter. So they go and they sleep for 3 years. It just says years later they wake up because there's this huge storm, and there is a mysterious cloaked figure outside, and Kratos yells, "Who are you?" And the cloak blows back, and you just see Mjolnir is like sparking off, and you're
Fired up for
Credits.
that.
Yes. And then, so Atreus wakes up. It is not years later, and it is a vision. Atreus has had the vision of that happening. He said, like, I had a vision. This is going to happen. A man is outside our house. And Kratos is like, oh, we'll deal with that when it comes. But
He actually says, like, dreams are not reality
Yeah.
or something like that.
problems
Like
for tomorrow. Or,
something where he, like, totally brushes it off
Yeah.
as just a
dream.
fucking dream.
He does say something along the lines of, we'll deal with it when it happens, though, or something along those lines, too.
That's your kind of your hook to, like, get back out there and clean up the side stuff.
Is it a god thing to not age? Because that boy wasn't any older in
Yeah.
those 3 years.
Gods
is that a sleep
age
thing?
differently.
They age
sure.
how they age. He could be a teenager next time we see him. Who
Right.
knows?
They live exponentially longer than humans,
Yeah.
so you could say maybe it takes more than 3 years for...
Yeah.
And, like, Kratos has he gotten older?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of?
Yeah.
We also have no idea how long it is in between games.
Yes.
Yep. And they do a thing too where like time in Helheim move. I forget. They lay it all out and it's super confusing.
Yeah.
It moves at half the speed it does in this realm, which time in Helheim moves very slow, I think, compared to Midgard. So when Kratos went to
Yes.
Helheim to get
came
the
back, a
thing,
lot
it
of
came
time had
back-
passed.
yeah, exactly. Or like one of the things I was going to bring up was when you step into the light, when you go to Elfheim and you step into the light, Freya's giving you a warning. She's like, "Go, you need to take the Bifrost in the light, but don't ever buy." And gets like pulled away. And Kratos steps into the light and kind of sees Well, Boy is hearing the voices of the dead or whatever, and Kratos steps in and hears Faye, and basically is in the light, like looking for like, Faye, I need to find you or whatever. And eventually Boy pulls him out, and Kratos is super mad because he was just about to reach her, and he's like, "Why did you pull me out?" Because it turns out that Kratos was gone for like, we don't know how long. There's a pile of you left a clean room. There's a fucking pile of corpses because Kratos like, "I've only been gone for," and he like looks around and he's like, "You've been gone for a long time." And, because he leaves him the axe.
Murdered a lot of people.
Yeah, leaves him the axe. He's like, "You are holding it." And is there anything else that I kind of skipped over? I feel like pretty much got most of it.
Good story synopsis.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear theories.
Well, that was quick, but I mean, there was a lot of shit that you still glossed over.
Yes.
Because,
it's deep and it's super in depth, and I love the attention to detail so much. There's a part where it's when you do step off the ledge in the realm between realms.
Oh yes,
and so we just playing it organically, because if you look down there earlier in the game, you can see like a city kind of shimmering, and I kind of looked at it and like, oh, that's fucking weird. I can like see Midgard or whatever from up here, and then you learn later like, oh no, that's the secret, that's the missing tower that Tyr hid. He hid it here, and so I just threw the axe at it. And then you do the whole cutscene where you jump down, and Kratos jumps down, and in that cutscene, the axe in the foreground like lands on the ground. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Okay, like I threw the axe and I saw it. Okay, let's reload. Let's go back up here. Now I'm gonna throw the axe in the ground and just see like, if I don't have the axe, does it always do that thing? If you throw the axe in the ground and jump down, no axe. Axe not on your back, axe not tumbling through the foreground, just fucking completely missing. You can call it and it comes down. If you, there was like one other scenario we tried that I can't remember, but basically they built a thing just in the exact scenario that I had where someone looks down, throws the axe in front of them, and then jumps down after it. And just like,
that's cool.
The little, that's so much minute detail absolutely everywhere. It's incredible.
It was very cool.
They spent good money on that axe scene for something that who knows how many people ever saw. It was amazing.
Very good game.
Oh,
and that is a person who did not play or give a fuck about any of the God of War games. I played this because I knew it was a good video game, and it is a very good video game.
Oh yes, certainly one of the best games of the year.
As a guy who was like not like captured by it, I can still say like it was still a really good game. And I'm most bummed at myself for not liking it, because you guys are talking about a lot of shit, and I'm like,
so you will actively say,
I miss that shit.
I didn't like this game.
No, it's just like I wasn't as invested in it as you guys are. Like, you guys had 95% of the conversation, and that 5% that I sort of put in, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And that was mostly all the shit
some
at
good
the
laugh
end.
track in there too.
Yeah. But like, fucking, there's a lot of shit that I wanted to. I really want to get into the Norse mythology and get a good understanding about like all of this shit that you guys were talking about.
I sort of worked my way backwards.
Yeah.
Played the game. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm gonna look up some of the
even all that type of stuff. I want to get like interested in it. I want to read like the codexes and stuff. I just couldn't. But again,
that's
like,
too bad. Yeah,
I know. Again,
and I feel like I maybe am closer to you than these guys too.
Yeah.
Just because I've never been I'm not a medieval kind of fan, and I know it's not medieval, but
it's swords and sorcery. I know what you mean.
I'm a sci-fi guy. That's
not cars
like.
And guns.
I like my sci-fi if I'm going to get into a specific genre, so to speak. So I didn't like really delve into it. I did like I mainlined it. I didn't really do any side. I freed one dragon.
Yeah, the one you had to.
The guy who's like, the ghost who's like, if you go get the bones, you talk to your mother. I did that one.
Gulvig's bones.
Even though I knew, I was like, there's no way this early that there's going to be a way to, but I'll do it just to see what happens.
Good lesson for Boy.
I will say, without getting into all the side stuff, that the side stuff is really good too. I feel like specifically side missions, there are the perfect amount of them for the game that size.
Yeah.
Where every time I got one, I was like, oh, I'm doing this right now.
And none of them are none of them feel throwaway. There's no like, go over here and get me 20 of these. Now go over here and get me 20 of these.
Right.
It's
and
like,
at the same time, none of them are like, oh, go here, do this. Now go here, do this. Like, they're not like multi-step quests. It's usually, here's a quest. Here's an area designed just to do that quest. Get to the end of that area. and then come back and see me.
Mm-hmm. And there's great, even like if you can do those without Mimir, you can do those with Mimir and get totally different dialogue. And like those side quests, a lot of them, some of them are a little unremarkable, but some of them are there's very good dialogue between sometimes just boy and the spirit going
and a
back
lot
and
of
forth.
good lore. Like there's a lot of good like things where they'll just teach you about the world.
Yep.
Because that's the only time to learn about all 3 dragons.
Yeah.
Like,
and they talk about everything so offhandedly and like, oh, well, that was like the Vanir, blah, 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 blah. And they just throw names and places and all this shit at you. But eventually they do it from so many different spots that you kind of like, you sort of, just by like osmosis, kind of, you have a good sense of kind of where the lines are drawn, what the factions are, kind of who are the good-ish, who are the bad-ish.
it's kind of why I want to go back and play again, is because I think for the first half of that game, I was doing a lot of like pausing after he said something and being like,
Wait a minute.
okay, that is a giant who went back in time? And then, and I think now, because I've had a whole game where all those words mean something, now if I were to go back to some of those early dialogue, I'd be like, oh, I get that. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
I
lot-
didn't know what any of that meant the first time you said it.
It's good. There's a lot, having that context of knowing how it all ends up and knowing that you are playing the prophecy. There's a lot of really good stuff you glean the second time through that you didn't. And that New Game Plus mode is really well done. They add a whole new tier of shit that is not in the main game. Theories. You got any? I have one. Tyr, the god of war, because we're all time traveling upside down. All universes stacked on top of one another. That's all the same god of war. Tyr is Kratos.
yeah.
Is
That was my theory,
whoever
too.
he will be in the next iteration.
My theory.
Tyri.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, you know so little about him, and he has been painted as the only redeemable character in this universe.
Yep.
Other than like, out of all the people that you don't meet personally, where I'm just like, I wonder if that's us.
He's too big of a deal to not either be one of us or show up later.
Yeah.
They mention him too much. And he is a god of war. They wouldn't call him out as the god of war if he wasn't going to have a key role at some point, I think.
I don't know if it qualifies as a theory, but I feel like there is more to be done with Zeus in some form. Oh, yeah. Because you don't just show him and have that, like, moment of him being this big giant head without there being more to come of that in some form. Whether it's just you see that vision more, or he is somehow reborn in some capacity or something along those lines. I feel like that's something that they would probably expand on.
I think Odin and Zeus probably had communiques between them, probably talked, maybe shared their prophecies.
You'd be like, yo, watch out for this motherfucker.
Oh, he's a rude-
He straight up killed me.
Rude dude.
In relation to that image that he saw under the tapestry of the boy cradling a dead Kratos or a hurt Kratos or whatever, and then something that you had mentioned where Kratos can kind of like sort of glean from that picture, like, oh shit, he's gonna kill me, like it's gonna like it's that cycle is just destined to happen. I sort of like the idea of him kind of
Trying to prevent it?
not prevent it, but like just starting to suspect Atreus so that there's a conflict there in the
Be
future.
maybe a little suspicious of him
Yeah.
going forward.
I think the way the story has to go is to kind of start to at least see a wedge between.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
A
yeah.
constant
kid
level
and-
of distrust
Yeah.
of some sort.
Oh, yeah.
I like that idea.
Kid gets some motives of his own.
Wouldn't it be... Maybe this is just Kratos' sad story. Maybe this is just Kratos' loop that he gets a family, loses a family, gets a family, loses a family. Maybe this
So you
ends...
think maybe he kills?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe boy goes full fucking... Maybe that like... But that wasn't me thing, that like dark whatever, maybe boy does have the dual evil personalities or whatever.
I want to see him make the snake,
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah. Jormungandr.
and I want to see the
Cool
snake
thing.
get smacked back in time
Yep.
from the time I'm inside.
Yep. Something's got to
Like
happen.
I want to see Thor just smoke him with a hammer and him just like disappear into the air.
Star Trek. The like Star Trek.
Yeah,
real
just
long
like
effect.
warp. Yeah.
You mentioned something about Kratos killing Thor or Thor killing Kratos.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, I think you're gonna open. I mean,
I don't think you can kill him.
Somebody in the chat
totally
mentioned maybe you defeat him in the second one,
Yeah.
and then it's him and Odin in the third.
could be.
I just
Of
feel
some
like
sort.
unless they start playing around with the legend that they've already established, you need Thor to get far enough to fight this world serpent.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Actually,
Yeah.
that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. They have.
You have to start with Thor of some sort.
You totally do.
There's
But
no
him-
way that game starts, and I mean, it can start without that having happened, but it has to happen very early in the fifth or second or whatever we want to call that next game that's coming.
It might not come. Ragnarok might not come till 3 though. Sure. In the way that like the Greek apocalypse didn't come till the third game. Really, I wonder if.
Because what do you do after Ragnarok if you do Ragnarok in 2?
Yeah,
What is God of War 3?
Yeah, I don't move on to the next.
But to me,
Maybe we see that this time. Maybe we get to actually play. Maybe like 3 is half Norse, half.
Oh, do the transition?
Yeah, maybe we get to see a little bit of that.
how many years of winter is it before?
3.
3 years, yeah.
So like, it didn't specifically say 3 years in that vision of him seeing.
Yeah, you're right.
But it said years later.
But the way that he says, "I'm going to sleep through winter," kind of, I think, is supposed to make you think it is
Which
the
would-
beginning
Like that's
of
what wakes
Ragnarok.
you up from
Yes.
your
The
winter
second
nap.
one,
Yeah.
starts
And
with that. That's
if-
what makes sense.
So Ragnarok begins after Fimbulwinter. If that is the beginning, I've played Age of Mythology, so I'm over it. It's a power you get. If that is the beginning of Ragnarok, then maybe it happens right then and there. Maybe Yorm shows up to help you fight in the beginning. Maybe that thing is you fighting Thor, and also Jormungandr's there, and that's when he gets blown back through time. That gives you lots of time to set up him being born, because it doesn't say it's Ragnarok
that's
is a
where I
thing.
get confused.
Ragnarok is a thing that could take 2 games to go all the way through.
But the kid has to make a new Yorm
Right,
to
but
get sent back in time.
first
It can't
we-
be the Yorm we have here.
Oh yeah,
Because the Yorm we have here has to be the Yorm.
That's a good point. If that Yorm gets, I mean, who knows? Like maybe their time rules are different than we think.
I have no idea.
Ragnarok can't start / the winter can't end until Thor's dead. Maybe that's the consequence of his death, is that
Totally.
it's the official start of Ragnarok.
Yeah, could be.
Who knows? I'm excited.
so
I
am I.
was saying to Warren as he was finishing this game, where I'm like, I had to just wash over me how far away that next game is, and I'm like,
I know.
fuck.
I hope it's only like maybe a couple years out.
I hope so
Hopefully.
too. But I also hope it's fucking damn good.
Oh yeah.
So take all the time you need.
Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, because I know we're a long way from Game of the Year.
Hmm.
But I would like to not plant my flag, but I would like to penetrate the topsoil with my flag.
Hold hands and penetrate there with you,
Just like poking
brother.
the dirt.
And just a little, just the tip. And say that I have a very hard decision to make with this game, in that it is a very good game.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very, very good video game. It could be Game of the Year, but is it the most fun game that I played this year? And how do I pick my Game of the Year? Do I pick it for the best video game that I played? Or do I pick it for a good video game that I also had a lot of fun playing?
Or do you pick it to completely filibuster and stonewall the show? Like we have tons of different.
There is that option as well.
The
We've never
Science
really
of
gone
Game of the
into
Year.
these shows
Lot of
with like
angles.
a Game of the Year rubric.
Yeah.
It's more, graphics, sound design, spite.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would be in the minority and not having a lot of fun. And I think that just boils down to the fact that I have not played any of the other ones. So I had nothing. I didn't get to have that oh shit moment when you get those blades.
Oh, it's so good.
And
Right?
we've had this discussion a lot of times, and I always come out of it saying, like, I always think that my favorite game of the year is the game I had the most fun playing, with the exception being if we play like a ton of multiplayer of a bunch of game, and I can separate the
Sure.
fact that, oh no, I'm having fun in the chat, I'm having fun with my friends. It's when I play games without my friends, normally the game that when I put it down and I'm like, I just know, oh, that was the best game I played all year.
Yeah.
But then there's also the debate of
This
is
is-
favorite game the best
This is a
game?
conversation for another time. We'll wrap this up here. I think we're keeping Kevin up. Does anyone have any closing thoughts on God of War?
Play it.
Please, yes.
Yeah.
It is. There has never been a
And-
better time to own a PlayStation. I think it is totally worth buying one for God of War.
I know you guys said that probably 1 and 2 don't hold up. If you have the opportunity
2 does.
to play
one
3
probably doesn't.
before this one, at least, I'd say probably play it. As a
It's
guy
also
who
free.
didn't. Okay, there you go.
Is
free
three
right now.
is free.
And
Is
that's
three
a
free?
remaster
3
too.
is free. Yes.
So it's even better than
PSN
the,
Plus.
Yes.
Oh shit! I didn't know that. Awesome. Like this month.
I know I got it
Could be
a
the
couple
last
days ago, so I think it could have been last month.
I was just
So
about
get
to buy
on
that
it.
thing. That's rad.
Get on it.
3 totally holds up, by the way.
Yes.
Play 3.
Never mind. I'll talk to you about that afterwards because it will make no sense on this podcast.
Good.
Yeah. So if you can play 3, just to at least get an idea of what the transition, I think that'd be a good
I think
idea.
it's totally worth your time.
Yeah.
It's a
I
great
just-
game.
It's
on
also a
its own.
fucking fantastic
It's
game.
awesome.
And
I
that
don't know if I
that remaster
enough is
looks
the problem.
really good. That's fair.
Sure.
That's totally fair.
And that's the one thing that does make me, if it hadn't been remastered, it would be an easy no for me. But the fact that they did remaster it and that it's been retouched and stuff makes me kind of, maybe I might.
What if
at
I
some
tell you
point.
it's only about 8 hours long? Maybe shorter.
maybe.
It's pretty
It
tight.
is pretty short
It'd
game.
be interesting to see how you walk away from that if you do end up playing it.
To go backwards.
To go backwards,
The other
yeah,
way.
yeah,
Super
because
interesting.
this game is completely mechanically, it's completely different from that game.
And Kratos
Totally.
is thematically completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's an angry man.
Yeah.
He's a much angrier
Yeah.
man.
Podcast at talkingreckless.com. If you got any thoughts, write them on in, or you can drop on our subreddit r/talkingreckless.
We should do more Spoilercast.
Yes, let us know what you thought. We should do more
Like
Spoilercasts.
Detroit.
I would do
Well,
Detroit. I would
that's
do
been
Detroit.
said now.
Oh boy! Thanks so much for joining us. There will be a regular podcast this weekend. Spoilercast never take the spot of regular podcast. Well, not never, but hopefully never. So we will see you then. Thank you so much for listening. That's it. Join us on talkingreckless.com/live.
Boy.
Goodbye.
Zach said you picked Destiny 1 as your game of the year.
Yeah, I think that was the best game that came out that year.